Real Estate Investing for Beginners and Dummies, written by Giovanni Rigders, narrated by Connor Sullivan. Introduction. Are you interested in learning about real estate and what it takes to establish a successful business? This book aims to introduce you to the world of real estate and help you identify the different ways to get into the business. You'll find easy-to-follow instructions in this book as we explain everything you need to know to work in this field. Real estate is a broad term that includes any property attached to land, like buildings, bridges, and houses, or the land itself and things found in nature, like trees and minerals. Many people confuse real estate with real property, which is a person's ownership rights to a property or land. Real estate is characterized by immobility, indestructibility, and uniqueness. The types of real estate are residential, commercial, industrial, land, empty or agricultural, and special purposes, like cemeteries, parks, and schools. A real estate agent has a wide range of responsibilities. These include filing agreements and leases, organizing open houses and showing them to clients, staying up to date with ad campaigns, whether online or personally distributing flyers or setting banners, setting monthly budgets, networking, and researching for available listings. To perform these duties, there are a few steps you must take. This book will explain how to take the initial steps needed to become a real estate agent. There are a lot of advantages to becoming a real estate agent. For instance, it requires minimum capital as you can work on the go without needing an office at first. You'll be a sole proprietor, which means you won't have a boss, and you will be able to keep all the income to yourself. You'll meet new people every day and help them find their dream homes. However, with all these perks, there are a few challenges you'll encounter as a realtor along the way. For one, it's an extremely competitive industry, where tough competitors excel at staying up to date with technological advancements instead of just improving their selling skills. Nowadays, people rely on online information to find properties, which means most of your marketing depends on how well you manage your website and social media accounts. They're the first thing you want to invest in to expand your networks and spread the word about your brand. That being said, the real estate business is considered one of the most lucrative career opportunities. The market is stable, and with construction activities seeing a rise, the industry is expected to increase. To decide whether you want to delve into the business, first, you need to know the few basics of real estate. This book will discuss what you need to become a real estate agent and how to choose the right market to start with. We'll list several options you can try right now by taking advantage of your existing property to practice your skills before diving deeper into the real estate business. To become a successful agent, you'll need to use essential tips and strategies to attract customers. According to the National Association of Realtors, 75% of buyers hire the first agent they speak to. This is because experienced realtors know the importance of first impressions. You won't be just selling a house or a property in the real estate business. You'll be selling a complete story to help people visualize living in a certain property. Convincing people to buy a property is no easy task, and you'll need to learn how to gain the necessary skills to communicate with people. In this book, you'll find specific steps and educational recommendations to enhance your skills as a real estate agent. Many people think real estate is limited to realtors and brokers. However, there are numerous branches to real estate, like property management, investment, and wholesaling. You'll need to determine your preferences and strong points to discover which path to take in your real estate career. In this book, you'll find entire chapters dedicated to a different branch of real estate. This information will give you a wide overview of each type. We'll define each branch, mention the various responsibilities in every field, list the common mistakes, and discuss a few strategies to help you become a successful agent. Let's dive into the world of real estate and get you started on your journey. Chapter 1. Delving into real estate. Many people consider working in real estate for many reasons. For one, the job provides a lot of variety, from working with different clients and showing various properties to not being chained to a desk all day. Another advantage is that you can easily get into the business compared to other fields that offer the same pay range. An average real estate agent can make anywhere from $50,000 to more than $100,000 per year. This range varies depending on educational background, experience, and networking, among other aspects. These factors appeal to people who want to create their own real estate company with reasonable capital. In this chapter, we'll delve into the world of real estate and what you need to get started in this business. Initial requirements. The first step is to research the local requirements of getting a real estate license. Every state has a different set of rules and regulations, which you'll have to meet. Look up the real estate regulatory office in your state to find out what you need to do to get a valid license. The initial requirements include your age, educational background, pre- and post-licensing requirements, background check, exam requirements, fees, and application process. Check for license reciprocity, where you're allowed to work in several states with the same license. This will be beneficial if you decide to expand your business. The next step is to apply for a pre-licensing course, which is mandatory before taking the license exam. Look for an accredited school, as you'll use the certificate to apply for your real estate license. Depending on the state, you'll have to take a certain number of hours to complete the course. For instance, New York State requires 75 hours, Florida requires 63 hours, and California requires 135 hours of coursework. There are various methods to complete your course. You can choose virtual classes, real estate school, or community college. Compare the options available in your area for costs and time availability according to your schedule. Search for quality curriculums and teachers, as these factors impact your preparation for the license exam. When you're ready for the exam, check the local real estate commission website to find out how to register for it, or you can ask your course instructor for details. The test is computer-based with two main sections, one for national laws and the other for local laws. It's a multiple-choice exam, and the number of questions and exam duration differ depending on the state. You have to pass each section, as they are each graded separately. You'll be allowed to take the exam again if you fail, but each state mandates different rules on the number of retakes allowed, duration between each exam, and deadlines for retake completion. After passing the exam, you'll need to activate your license by submitting an application, along with the required documents, and paying the fees to the real estate regulatory office in your state. Your license certificate will be mailed to you once your application is approved. However, you still need to wait until your local real estate authority issues your license before starting your business. Mentorship. Learning from an experienced realtor is an important aspect of your career. You'll need to discover the ins and outs of business and learn how to approach customers. While getting a degree can be very beneficial, a great deal of learning comes from a real-life professional. A mentor can show you the ropes when you're just getting started. Make sure to find someone with experience in your state, because the rules vary in different regions. You also have to be prepared to offer them something in return, whether it's your people skills, graphic design expertise, or a wide network of acquaintances. There are three main types of mentorships in real estate. These are personalized coaching, apprenticeships, or investing groups. A personalized coach will walk you through each deal and give you advice on approaching customers. They'll supervise your pitches with customers as you try to make a sale. This is a great way to identify your mistakes and boost your confidence when meeting clients. Another way is to work as an apprentice with an experienced investor. They will ask you to shadow them during client meetings to learn from their strategies or work as an intern in their office. You can work part-time in the beginning to get hands-on experience without committing full-time. This can be ideal if you're still deciding to become a realtor. The final type of mentorship is joining an investing group. You can find many real estate groups in your area through social media platforms. Thanks to these groups, you'll meet people in the business, and you will be able to ask them any questions you may have. Participating in these groups is helpful to any realtor to gain new leads, and you can use the information in addition to your mentor's advice. When searching for the right mentor, first, you should identify your objectives. Ask yourself what you're hoping to accomplish in this career. Are you looking for extra income on the side, or are you considering shifting careers? Think about what style of real estate you want to work in, whether it's flipping homes, vacation rentals, wholesaling, or other options. Answering these questions will help you narrow down your search when looking for mentors. The next step is to look up the credentials of your potential mentor. Find out what they accomplished in their career. Compare different real estate investors and see which align with your aspirations. You should also determine your risk tolerance. Are you into high-risk deals for greater rewards, or would you like to play it safe by making smaller deals with lower risk factors? It's okay to flip strategies once you gain enough experience. You may start off as a low-risk taker and then aim for higher risks afterwards. It's important to establish mutual respect with your mentor. No matter how experienced and successful they are, you shouldn't be learning from someone who demeans you at every turn. Only then will you truly be able to learn and use their experience to advance your career. Finally, when choosing your mentor, you must make sure that both your goals are aligned. Ideally, you'll work for a mentor who can be a potential business partner in the future. Degrees. After finding a mentor and gaining some experience, it's time to think about advancing your real estate career. The best way to do this is to take a few classes to increase your knowledge. Your credentials play a major role in attracting customers as they increase your credibility and experience. While there isn't one specific degree for real estate, there are various classes you can take to hone your skills. A real estate agent's ultimate tool is their communication and selling skills. You'd spend your days selling not just a property, but a dream or a certain lifestyle. You'll need to learn leadership and negotiation skills to convince all kinds of buyers and sellers. Part of managing ad campaigns is learning how to stay within budget to get your money's worth with minimum expenses. All these lessons can be learned by taking a business administration degree. This degree will make you stand out among your competitors as it covers a wide range of skills needed to excel in the real estate business. It will teach you how to manage your company and how to improve your communication skills and become a leader in the field. Learning business administration is crucial for any type of company as you'll learn to use limited resources to the maximum potential and manage your time efficiently. You'll also learn about budgeting and ethics, which will greatly impact your company's growth and brand. While a marketing degree might be an obvious choice for a real estate agent, digital marketing is becoming the newer trend in business. Technology advancements in the last decade are changing the business world. To become an active competitor, you need to stay up to date with current trends. A digital marketing degree will teach you how to effectively manage your social media accounts to increase brand awareness and visibility. You'll learn various techniques and strategies to increase your sales while working at home. For instance, email marketing has been shown to increase networking and reachability to customers without paying any money and with minimum effort. With one click of a button, you'll reach hundreds of potential buyers and sellers. While it seems easy enough, there are ways to perfect your approach to ensure your emails don't end up being deleted or overlooked. If you learn how to make quick sales, this contributes greatly to your professional reputation. Customers will be rushing to hire you, increasing your income and improving word-of-mouth marketing. When learning digital marketing, you'll understand how to use search engine optimization to your advantage to attract customers with minimal costs. Another obvious choice is getting an accounting degree. As a real estate agent, you'll be dealing with several projects at the same time, which produces a ton of numbers and business transactions. You'll learn how to manage your ledgers. Accounting skills are extremely beneficial to any business owner, especially for a sole proprietor like a realtor or a broker. You'll understand account codes and learn how to set a budget for business expenses. A finance degree can be a great choice for a realtor, as you'll learn economic fundamentals and reporting and how to foresee market trends. This knowledge will help you identify potentially lucrative investment and find hidden property gems in your work area. You'll also learn how to manage your expenses, calculate your net profit, and understand statistics and how to use them in various situations. Consider getting an entrepreneurship degree if you're looking for a collective degree that can teach you various business aspects. It might not be as specific as some of the previous degrees, but it will positively impact your real estate career. This degree will teach you about marketing, accounting, finance, business, and even law. It contains an overview of the most important aspects of the business and teaches you how to overcome potential obstacles in your career. You'll need to learn those skills even if you're working for a broker or a realtor, because you'll usually be working on your own most of the time. Realtors typically depend on their computers to conduct their business. Whether working from home or on the go, you'll constantly be checking your email or CRM software for updates. You'll also need to set up and manage a professional website, which requires technical knowledge. This is why it's reasonable to consider taking a basic computer science class. While it's usually an overlooked part of the real estate business, it will be very helpful to learn how to fix common issues on your computer or website to avoid losing a potential deal. In this business, one deal gone wrong can cost you a lot of clients. This can be avoided with a few technical basics by learning how to manage devices like printers and scanners, set up local and wide area networks in your office, and operate your company's website. Now, let's take a look at a few seemingly far-fetched degrees that are surprisingly relevant to this career path. A human resources degree is an excellent way to learn how to manage people. Dealing with people is the most frequent activity you'll do as a real estate agent. You'll learn how to resolve conflicts with clients and how to build a solid team. You'll learn about business ethics, law, and how to create a diverse workplace. In this business, you'll meet a wide range of people from different cultural and religious backgrounds. Sometimes, a deal may be halted because of a disagreement between the buyer and seller. With your human resources knowledge, you'll use problem-solving strategies to close the deal. Learning about national and local laws will also come in handy to protect yourself against any liabilities. Also, your work has an artistic aspect, whether for your website's design or taking professional property photos. For those reasons, consider taking a graphics design class where you can learn how to create your company's logo for your flyers and banners. This knowledge will help you create an attractive brand. Promoting your brand is one of the main pillars of a realtor's success. Photography is another critical aspect of marketing available properties. You can take a couple of classes to learn when to take high-quality photos by choosing the right lighting and angles for the property. A great part of your marketing campaign will be online, so you need to put up captivating images to pique buyers' interest. Being a realtor involves learning about people's behavior, which requires gaining a fair understanding of their emotions. People are more inclined to purchase a house if they can visualize making memories in it. You'll have to relate to them and use your words wisely to do this. This is why it's a great idea to take a psychology class where you'll learn about how people manage their emotions. It's not about tricking your clients into buying a property, but rather learning how to read and approach them effectively. The importance of networking. Building contacts is an essential part of the real estate business. Its impact surpasses education, marketing strategies, and even mentorship. It helps build long-term relationships and expand your brand. You'll need to prioritize networking to increase your chances of finding potential customers. To become a real estate investor, you'll have to build an impeccable team. You can't do everything on your own, especially once you expand your network. Every new person you meet will refer you to more people. It takes time to build a solid network, but you can reach many people by following a few tips. With enough time and practice, you'll learn to identify trustworthy people. Make sure to establish connections with people in corresponding careers. Socialize with non-competing realtors who can forward contacts to you and vice versa. They may be agents working in other areas or ones with a different specialty. It also helps to find renowned contractors you can rely on to finish their projects on time to avoid delays and risk losing clients. Lenders, and developers are other professional Bankers, lenders, and developers are other professionals you should connect with in your line of work. You can meet many people in local networking meetings once every week, even if you feel you're not getting much exposure to different people in other lines of work. Your consistent presence will make people recognize you and approach you for a potential deal. You can attend investment clubs in your area as you can meet a lot of people in different fields, from lawyers and investors to mortgage brokers and lenders. Make a habit of getting to know people wherever you go. Traveling is a major part of a real estate agent's career, and you'll be doing most of your tasks on the go. Every person you meet is a networking contact with many potential leads. Ensure to incorporate at least 10 minutes of networking in your everyday routine. Your website, social media accounts platforms, or professional blog are great ways to reach potential clients. Use them to tell stories about your properties and post high-quality pictures with a proper description, because this is the first thing people see. Make sure to regularly answer people's questions to let them know you're an active realtor. It's also a great idea to get involved as much as you can in your local community. Make yourself a familiar face in public events. You can sponsor a school event or fundraising charity parties to get to know people in the neighborhood. People are more likely to trust and build relationships with people they see regularly. Creating your real estate company. When starting your own company, first, you need to decide which industry you want to pursue. You may focus on investment, property management, wholesaling, or other options. This needs a fair amount of self-knowledge to recognize your strengths and weaknesses. A realtor is someone who has no problem talking to people all day and pitching ideas to them. A property manager's strongest qualities are organizational skills and great attention to detail. An investor is someone comfortable with handling numbers and flipping houses. Find out which of those activities align the most with your abilities and choose that career path. The next step is to formulate a business plan where your starting point is to get a degree or a valid license. Depending on your preferred path, Find out how you can establish a wide range of networks. You'll also need to calculate business expenses like renting an office space, setting up phone service, creating a website and a marketing campaign, and purchasing a software program and other business tools. It's better to consult an experienced realtor, accountant, or lawyer to find out the proper procedures for creating a real estate company. Each entity structure has its own tax regulations you need to be familiar with. To register your company, you need to provide your business address, company name, and manager's information. When choosing a name, ensure it's not used by another entity from the state's registry. Execute your plan by setting up a business bank account, applying for a phone and internet service, creating an official website, and then implementing your marketing strategies. Start by cultivating relationships with clients and maintaining an organized registry of their contacts using spreadsheets or a CRM software program. As you nurture these leads, it's time to make your deals. Your business is officially launched once you start making a profit from those deals. This chapter discussed the basic aspects of starting a real estate business. There are numerous job opportunities in this field, which is why you need to try several different aspects of real estate to find out which one suits you the most. It's important to take the process step by step and try to gain the most experience by working with a professional mentor. Once you get the hang of it, you can start establishing your real estate company. Chapter 2. Where should you start? The previous chapter mentioned the initial steps you need to take to delve into real estate. Now, it's time to discuss how to choose the right market. Any business owner must perform thorough market research and competitive analysis by identifying the target audience and selecting the right market. This chapter will discuss where you should start in the real estate market and how to finance your business. Finding a market niche. In the beginning, you must determine a specific market niche. You might have many business ideas, but it's important to focus on a certain group and one type of real estate. Finding a market niche gives you the chance to excel in one area, which means all your research should be targeted. First, you need to ask yourself which group or segment of the population you will target. You may prefer working in a couple of neighborhoods you're familiar with or focusing on only selling apartments. In the first chapter, we emphasized the importance of using your strength points to choose one aspect of real estate to make it your specialty. Focusing on one or two markets increases your chances of success because you'll only have one specific segment to approach. This unifies your business strategies, marketing campaigns, and connections and helps you stick to your budget. Remember, this is a general tip for any entrepreneur or startup. You'll be facing a lot of competition in an already highly competitive industry, which is why it's easier to concentrate on one area and try to stand out. Once you gain enough experience in your current market, you could expand to other real estate options. Let's take a look at a few real estate market niches. Residential real estate includes condos, houses, townhouses, duplexes, and co-ops. Commercial real estate is a property used for business purposes, and it includes malls, warehouses, restaurants, healthcare centers, hotels, and office buildings. Income properties are bought by agents as an investment to rent or lease them to generate income. These include anything from single and multifamily homes and apartment buildings to office buildings and hotels. Other options include wholesaling, flipping houses, and property management, which will be discussed in detail in the upcoming chapters. Target audience. Once you settle on a specific market niche, it's time to work on your marketing campaign. First, you need to identify your target audience to specify your approach. This involves focusing on the people most interested in the type of real estate you're selling. General ad campaigns are ineffective with most people, which is why you need to target a certain demographic in your marketing strategy. While the process is not easy, you can pinpoint your target audience with enough market research and public surveys. A target audience consists of consumers searching for your specialty products or services. You need to outline the major characteristics of this demographic, like age, gender, financial status, and cultural background. While some people may deviate from the majority, you'll still have an idea of how to approach potential customers. When you identify your target audience, you'll know where to find them. Each person searches for houses on different platforms. Younger generations tend to get most of their information online, But which platform do they use the most? Older people use the internet to search for real estate, but they may not use the same platforms as younger or first-time buyers. If you have a big team, you may be able to cover almost every platform, whether it's specific to real estate or not. But since you're just getting started, this would be hard to achieve. This is why targeting a specific group helps you identify their most visited platforms. When you advertise your properties on these platforms, it's more likely you'll reach your desired demographic. Another important reason for speaking to a specific group is to customize your message to relate to people. You want people to know you understand their needs and have the tools to fulfill them. Buying a house is about investing in a lifelong dream. It carries a heavy emotional aspect, and you have to tap into those emotions when approaching people. It's how you convince them of your brand and expand your marketing reach. Your core message is to make people trust your judgment and choose you to represent their real estate needs over any other agent in the market. Let's look at the different types of home buyers to determine which people to target in your campaign. The first step is to study the neighborhood you wish to work in. What kind of people live in that neighborhood? And what kind of property are they staying in? This is the perfect opportunity to study your competition and the existing market. Make a list of the type of people living in a certain area and the qualities of those properties. First-time buyers are usually younger people in their 20s or 30s looking to transition from renting or leasing to owning a property. You may be looking at young couples or single people. These people may not have kids or have a small family and want to make the biggest investment in their lives so far. Their priority may be to find a house or condo within their budget. They may not mind living in a smaller house accommodating 2 or 3 people at the most. Due to the pandemic, more people are working from home, so they may value extra space to use as a home office. Working remotely eliminates the work proximity factor as they don't worry about commuting time anymore. This factor means they may look into cheaper areas outside the city center to fit their budget. These areas could offer them a bigger house to grow into if they decide to expand their family. However, not all young couples want to live in remote areas away from the city, so make sure to represent properties in versatile areas to cater to different tastes in the same demographic. Older groups in the late 30s to 40s with bigger or expectant families may consider moving to a bigger home. They want to make room for their growing family, so they may be focused on housing with extra bedrooms and large backyards for their kids to play. This group probably has a higher budget, allowing for extra features like a garage, home office, and proximity to good schools, and they'd be more concerned about the neighborhood's safety. All these aspects must be kept into account when approaching this demographic. Another group of home buyers is people over 50 whose kids have gone to college and prefer moving to smaller homes while retaining the same quality as their current neighborhood. They more likely want to live in a quiet area, but still be close enough to services like hospitals, grocery stores, and other shops. For this group, downsizing doesn't mean a lower budget. They may just want to move to a smaller household for ease of maintenance and as an upgrade from their existing house. They might have been unable to afford a big house in a luxurious neighborhood, but with their kids moving out, they may value the neighborhood's quality more than the property's size. Apart from these 3 main groups, other people like to invest in properties or want to move away from their neighborhood for any reason. However, most people will fall under one of these categories. Study your real estate options carefully and find out which segment needs the properties you're selling. Selecting a target market. Location is everything in real estate. A house in one city can have the same amenities as one in another city, but with a drastically different market value. The rents and the type of people living in these neighborhoods might vary greatly. You can even find 2 streets in the same district with different price points. So, how will you choose your target market? You'll need to perform a thorough market evaluation to answer this question. Selecting a target market is just as important as identifying your target audience. You have to limit your reach to a couple of neighborhoods in the beginning. If you target a whole state, the options will be too big for you to handle by yourself, and if the options are limited, you won't make enough deals to create a lucrative business. To identify a properly sized market, you need to explore at least 5 to 7 potential markets and narrow them down to a maximum of 2 markets. The first step is to identify the potential target markets. When you're just getting started, it makes sense to choose the neighborhood you're familiar with in your city. However, It's important to target other areas with the same quality of living to compare these areas and ensure you're choosing the best possible market. Your childhood neighborhood is not necessarily ideal to start with. For example, if you're targeting first-time buyers, your parents' fancier district may not be suitable for your target audience. You might find more suitable homes in other regions, which is why you need to evaluate different markets. Another tip is to search online for the best real estate markets in the country. For instance, if you're targeting condos, search for the best condo markets in the United States, and so on. Make sure to check online reports and public surveys conducted by companies in the United States to find out about the best current markets. This information will give you an idea of how the real estate markets are doing at the moment. After choosing at least 5 markets, the next step is to evaluate them. This involves listing the qualities and characteristics of these neighborhoods, including economic and cultural data. You'll need to know the unemployment percentage of each of the 5 target markets you chose, which is calculated in 5-year increments. The ideal percentage should be a decreasing rate or a low, stable rate. You want to stay away from areas with high or increasing unemployment rates in the last 5 years. Another important aspect is population growth. You need to calculate that percentage in your target market and the metropolitan statistical area. This percentage is more favorable when it's increasing because more people mean more potential customers and home buyers. If the home vacancy rate is high in an area with a decreasing or stable population growth rate, this is not an ideal neighborhood to start with. You also need to figure out the age group change in these markets over 5 years. Are most of the people falling under your target audience's age? This metric is crucial for your target market because it tells you which properties will have a high demand. For instance, if your research shows an increasing population rate of people aged 35 to 45, there will be a high demand for multiple family homes. If it shows an increase among a younger age group, there will be an increased demand for smaller houses or apartments. It's important to determine the variety of people's jobs in the target markets. If a market consists of people working in different industries, this means there isn't a dominant field in that market. This is crucial because if one industry fails for any reason, it won't severely impact the market. Ideally, the people in your target market should not be employed by a single industry by more than 25%. An adjacent metric to people's job diversity is employers' diversity. It's not favorable to work in a market where most people work for the same company. Bear in mind the supply and demand aspects in your target markets. Find out the fluctuations in rental vacancy rates in the last 5 years. An ideal vacancy rate should be low or decreasing, even if it was a high rate. The important thing is to stay away from markets with increasing vacancy rates. A decreasing rate reflects an increase in new building permits, but steers away from markets with a high amount of building permits. Once you collect all this information, list all these insights for each market and compare data to narrow them down to the ideal market. When you allocate your target market, you need to evaluate your competition. Check online for real estate agents and vendors in your area. Find out the properties they're representing and which ones they sold recently to find out about market trends. This will give you an idea about the most desirable properties in your market. You can perform public surveys on people living in the neighborhood to find out their feedback on this area. When a neighborhood is in high demand, the properties are sold at a higher price. The high demand of a certain area informs you of the competition in that neighborhood. Observe the price ranges in similar properties to those you're representing to stay up to date with market prices. Financing the venture. The costs of financing your real estate business vary depending on your state, insurance, advertising, and office equipment, among other things. You need to have sufficient funds to finance your business for at least the first 6 months, or you could face closing the business. Let's take a look at a few ways to find the money to finance your real estate venture. First, you don't have to quit your day job initially. Keep your steady income to support your part-time real estate business until you make enough money to make it full-time. If you have some savings, use that money instead of taking a loan. Another viable option is to liquidate some assets, whether it's a property, car, jewelry, or anything valuable to fund you in the first critical period. If you own a home, you can apply for a home equity loan, which is a great option as you'll be just borrowing money from yourself, and it comes with a reasonable interest rate. Alternatively, use a low-interest credit card or personal loan to launch your business. You can borrow money from a family member or a friend if you think this won't affect your relationship. It's better to create a document stating the terms of this loan to make it more official. You can find many banks offering business loans for startups, but you need to offer them a good line of credit, proper business plan, and collateral, or get a trusted partner to co-sign your loan. Consider a small business administration loan with fewer requirements, or get a partner to share some of the initial startup costs. This chapter mentioned the importance of finding a specific market niche and identifying your target audience and markets. It's important to gather as much information as possible before delving into the real estate market to get into the business knowing all the different aspects that can increase your chances of success. Chapter 3: Airbnb. Airbnb investments are very profitable real estate investment opportunities for anyone who wants to rent their property for good value. It is a platform that connects two parties and conveniently provides a good option for people who want to rent a property and people who want to rent out their property. Established in 2007, Airbnb has come a long way and is rapidly expanding every day. While most people look for short-term rentals, long-term options are also available. An Airbnb property can be as small as a single bedroom with a shared bathroom or as big as a whole house. Whatever the size and market value of the rental, it provides you with an opportunity to earn some extra income without having to go through too much trouble. Although it's a pretty simple real estate investment, there are some technicalities concerning Airbnb rentals you should be aware of before you can dive into the business. This chapter will highlight everything you need to know about starting and running an Airbnb rental to get maximum return on investment. How does it work? It's pretty simple to understand how Airbnb works. It connects the host with the guests, and they communicate via the website or the app. The host should set clear conditions and expectations from the guest before they agree on the property. The host can either meet up with the guests at the property or provide a remote check-in process. All the communication and payment are made through the Airbnb website or app to ensure complete user satisfaction and security. Airbnb versus rentals. Many people question whether to select Airbnb or to rent as their investment strategy. While both options generate sufficient revenue, Airbnb has much more benefits than regular renting. The main difference between an Airbnb and a rental is the length of the rental agreement and pricing. While most Airbnbs have short-term stays, the pricing strategy is based on nightly rates. On the other hand, rentals have longer stays with monthly rates. When opting for an Airbnb investment, you will have the potential for higher income, more control over pricing, and most importantly, the guarantee that Airbnb provides to its hosts to protect them from incurring expenses concerning their property. However, investors will also have to deal with a higher turnover rate, more effort, and irregular income. How to start an Airbnb? There are a number of factors you will need to consider before you invest in an Airbnb property. While the process is pretty straightforward, there are certain things you should keep in mind when investing in an Airbnb property. 1. Consider your budget. The first step in any investment decision is considering how much money you can spend on a property. This will depend on your gross income, savings, and any loans you plan to take. However, you should ensure you don't leave yourself with zero cash reserves in case there are any emergencies in the future. Whether you're a beginner in the real estate industry or have been in the business for years, it's important to understand the value of having a fund for emergencies. Your estimated budget should not just include the capital required to purchase a property, but also the amount you would need for renovation, repairs, and maintenance. 2. Select the most profitable real estate market. Your next plan of action should be to find a suitable location to purchase the property. Everyone in the real estate business knows about the importance of location and its effect in making your Airbnb successful. When searching for properties to invest in, particularly for a rental endeavor, you should consider certain indicators of a property's value. Most people consider Airbnb when on vacation, and therefore, places that are booming with tourism are the best option. High tourism ensures consistent income, high rates, and excellent occupancy rates. Moreover, the best locations for Airbnb investment should be near business hubs and have strong economies. Locations like these attract thousands of business travelers, both local and foreign, who prefer Airbnb's comfort and home-like feel over hotels. Another rule of thumb when searching for properties to invest in for Airbnb is that you shouldn't limit yourself to metropolitan cities and look towards small towns as well. Not only will small town investments provide you with a cheaper alternative, but they also ensure maximum return on investment. 3. Consider laws and regulations surrounding Airbnbs. Once you've carried out extensive market research and shortlisted some potential locations for your rental investment options, it's time to pay attention to the local rules and regulations surrounding Airbnb. Over the past decade, the rental business has rapidly grown, and as a result, numerous restrictions have been set in various towns and cities. It is prohibited to rent out a property as an Airbnb in some states. Therefore, you should consider the regulations before finalizing a property purchase, one you're specifically buying to establish as an Airbnb. 4. Do your research. Once you've chosen the location and gone over the regulations surrounding rental properties, it's time to start looking at suitable investment properties for sale. For this, you should utilize multiple sources of real estate listings to expand your search. Whether you get in touch with a real estate broker, look at online listings, or network to find an appropriate property, ensure that you pick at least 3 or more properties to choose from. This way, you can do a comparative analysis of all the properties you've shortlisted and select the one that ensures maximum profit. 5. Analyze ROI. To make an informed decision that ensures maximum profit, you must perform a rental property analysis to calculate the return on investment that a specific property can provide as an Airbnb. The information you need to analyze includes occupancy rate, cash return, income, and turnover. 6. Purchase and renovate the property. At this point, you should have done all your research regarding the property you want to purchase to establish as an Airbnb. You should be confident that the property you're planning to purchase will have a high return on investment and bring you positive cash flow. If you have sufficient experience in the real estate investment industry, then there's nothing wrong with directly purchasing the property you have researched. However, if you're new to this industry, it would be a good idea to get a real estate agent to assist you. For a newbie, buying a real estate property can be pretty complicated, and you should avoid certain complex hurdles. A real estate agent will negotiate the best possible price on your behalf and make sure to close the deal smoothly. Next, you need to ensure that the property you have acquired is in a good enough state to be used as an Airbnb. A home inspection prior to the purchase should have provided you with an estimate of any repairs and renovations needed. When renovating the property, remember not to overdo it. After all, this is an investment property. However, you should also keep in mind that the state of your rental will determine the daily rates and reviews you get. Therefore, you need to create a comfortable, home-like environment for your guests. A good idea is to pick a theme and stick to it. Although it should be your first priority to make your guests feel welcome, you should simultaneously ensure you stick to your budget. 7. Create a listing. Finally, the last and maybe the most important step in establishing an Airbnb rental property is to create a listing. The listing can be on the official Airbnb platform or any similar platform. To create the listing, you will need to upload pictures highlighting the best parts of your rental. Make sure to use high-quality pictures to attract customers. Try to highlight a unique point about your rental that makes it different from similar ones in the area. This could be anything, from better air conditioning to new furniture or spacious rooms, etc. Also, when writing the description for your rental, you should try to sell the experience more than the property. Highlight local attractions, the aesthetics of the place, and the atmosphere. However, don't ever exaggerate, because the last thing you need as an Airbnb real estate investor is bad reviews from disappointed guests. Moreover, in terms of the pricing, you should first do a comparative analysis of your rental property with other similar ones, and then set the rates comparable to the average rates, or even a bit below, to get your first customers and establish a consumer base. Ways to market your Airbnb. To get a loyal customer base for your Airbnb rental, there are 2 things you will need to focus on: marketing and customer reviews, respectively. How you promote your rental will play an essential role in getting the maximum return on investment. It's one of the main factors that attract customers to your rental. Therefore, you need to market your property in a way that makes it stand out from the crowd. With the rising trend of Airbnb and easy access, there's been a surge of people investing in properties for it. To ensure that you stand out in this saturated market, you need to implement the best marketing strategies possible. Here are some ways to maximize your profits by marketing your rental in the best possible ways. 1. Branding. There are hundreds of Airbnbs in every locality, and if you want your investment to stand out and attract maximum customers, it's very important to create your own brand. Establishing a brand will ensure that you stick to a specific theme or experience that will make your rental special. Most guests look for a place that matches their style and has a good reputation. First, you need to highlight the location you've so carefully selected for your Airbnb. There are many things people prefer when looking to stay at a rental instead of a hotel. One of these things is that the property might be away from the hustle bustle of the city. On the other hand, many people prefer staying close to all the tourist attractions. Additionally, adding a list of activities your guests can partake in while staying at your Airbnb is a great idea to attract customers. Secondly, you need to show some creativity with rooms or other features that can be highlighted in the ad listing. Feature rooms can include a home office, an outdoor dining room, a designated playroom, a fireplace, and especially a pool. Most guests tend to be attracted to rentals with an extra feature room. These rooms automatically add value to your property. 2. Social media marketing. Although traditional marketing strategies can help you get some customers, digital marketing has the most influence over consumer decisions in this day and age. The majority of people today are tech savvy, and therefore, almost all transactions and interactions take place online. Therefore, to compete in this saturated market, you need to ensure you have every effective marketing strategy in place so that your competitors do not overshadow you. Particularly, social media marketing has a huge influence on the general public these days. Millennials are all about social media reviews and the aesthetics of a brand. The best part about social media or digital marketing is that you can reach a much broader audience than you can through traditional marketing means. You can use the following platforms to promote your Airbnb to your audience. Facebook. Facebook has evolved drastically over the past few years, and the way it connects people has changed to reach maximum people. Creating a business page will help you promote your rental and act as a review platform. Even if you're promoting your Airbnb on your personal Facebook, it's a good idea to create a separate business account to get maximum reach. This will allow your guests to take photos of their stays and tag your property in their posts. This makes for more natural reviews people tend to trust more than staged photos and reviews on websites. Instagram. While Instagram started as a photo sharing app, it soon transformed into a great way to promote brands, services, and products. An Instagram page is essential to reaching the younger demographic through aesthetic pictures and videos of your Airbnb. Plus, guests will also be able to geotag your rental and indirectly aid your marketing process. You can also add Instagram reels of your property's highlights to gain maximum exposure. Create a balance of posts, stories, and reels regularly to keep your audience engaged. YouTube. YouTube is the largest search engine site after Google and a popular video site with millions of users all over the world. By creating a YouTube channel for your rental property, you can easily promote your brand to a wide range of people. You can create tour videos of your property or even vlogs highlighting its best parts. Moreover, you should try to focus on highlighting the attractions close to your place to get a better shot at attracting customers to your rental. Create a video with titles like Top Places to Visit in City Name, because they have better chances of being discovered by travel enthusiasts. And when they do, they'll be directed towards your rental. TikTok. One of the newest social media platforms that has been gaining popularity among the younger generation, especially Gen Z. TikTok is a great platform to promote your Airbnb rental. You can take short videos showcasing all the unique factors of your property. 3. Communicating with guests. Marketing your Airbnb rental should go beyond just aesthetic pictures and social media pages. You must ensure your guests have a pleasant stay, and you can do this by maintaining communication with them throughout their stay. Specifically, you should make a good first impression by providing proper check-in information before they arrive. You can also provide a welcome packet with amenities for their stay. Make sure you're available if they have any queries or concerns during their stay. 4. List your Airbnb on tourism websites. In addition to listing your property on Airbnb, you can also post listings on tourism websites in your area. Because people trust these sources, listing your ad in one or all of them will definitely boost your bookings. 5. Offer special discounts to your guests. A very effective marketing strategy is to create tempting discounts and offers for your target audience they cannot resist. For instance, you can create a 10% discount for your guests on their next stay if they invite friends or family to stay in your rental too. You can also give presents to returning guests or offer them discounts or extra perks. Referral programs are a great way to increase bookings and gain traction among new customers. How to receive good reviews. As mentioned multiple times throughout this chapter, Happy customers and good reviews are the keys to your rental property's success. So if you want to maximize profit, you will have to make some effort to make your customers happy and comfortable throughout their stay. Reviews mainly depend on the guest experience. If a guest has had a memorable time staying at your place, you'll be likely to get a high rating from them. This, in turn, will increase the value of your real estate investment. Here are some things you can try to keep your guests satisfied with their stay at your Airbnb rental. Ensure that the description you provide in your listing is accurate to avoid disappointing your guests. Give out free amenities and snacks to keep your guests happy throughout their stay. This could include small bottles of shampoo, comfy blankets, small chocolates, snacks, fruit bowls, etc. Provide a house manual to your guests so they can easily navigate your home and the foreign city they're in. This gesture will automatically earn you some brownie points. Ensure your rental is spotless before your guests arrive. There's nothing more disappointing than paying for a dirty rental. Provide entertainment options like Netflix, Disney Plus, or Amazon Prime to your guests for free. There's nothing more delightful for people on vacation than having free Netflix. The subscriptions don't cost that much in the grand scheme of things. Most importantly, provide Wi-Fi. Legal issues and regulations. When deciding to invest in an Airbnb rental, you must consider the rental's regulations in your city and state. This is because some cities and states have laws against letting people rent spaces for longer periods of time, or even short time periods if the host isn't around. Most often, Airbnbs are allowed to function if the host first obtains a permit and a license before listing their property on a website or accepting guests. Common mistakes. As a host, there will be certain expectations you will need to uphold if you want your guests to be satisfied with their stay. It's important to avoid making these mistakes, especially if you're a newbie in the rental industry. Avoid using casual pictures taken with your smartphone because they will not be able to compete with the professionally taken photographs published in your competitors' listings. Don't settle on fixed pricing strategies because they're not as profitable in the long term as flexible pricing. Although you'll have to deal with small profits during the low season, you'll be gaining maximum profits during peak seasons like Christmas or summer. Make sure you don't get double booked because it will cause you a lot of trouble when you have multiple guests with not enough room. Avoid using your regular phone number to manage bookings and calls regarding your rental. Investing in Airbnb rental property is a great idea, especially with the industry booming and promising growth in the coming years. With the property strategies implemented to maximize your profit, there's no doubt that your venture will be successful. Chapter 4. Vacation Rentals. What is a vacation rental? A vacation rental refers to a non-commercial accommodation that is rented out to clients. These are usually residential properties in great locations. Any kind of residential accommodation can be converted into a vacation rental. If you look at vacation rentals on any website or catalog, you will find homes, apartments, studio apartments, mansions, and even castles available. In some countries, the trend is for the vacation rental to be located in a scenic location, somewhere close to the beach or a major attraction, or even high up in the snowy mountains. However, in some places, the hustle and bustle of the city is the attraction. For instance, New York. In large cities such as Tokyo, London, and New York, it is not uncommon to see vacation rentals located in an isolated basement in the middle of the city. Generally, vacation rentals are preferred for two reasons. The first is that it will be cheaper than a traditional hotel and is a way for residents to save some money on accommodation. The other is that it offers something unique that a hotel cannot. Maybe it is located in a great location. Maybe it has access to a private facility that is only accessible to residents. Maybe there is something else the property or the area around it offers that is not available elsewhere. People usually prefer to get a property with a unique characteristic because it becomes the unique selling point and attracts customers. If you have a home in a regular neighborhood in the suburbs, that could very well be a vacation home for someone, but there will be far fewer people who would want to live in such a setting when on vacation. How do you find the right vacation rental? There are two main ways you can hunt for the right property. Firstly, you can get in touch with your local realtor and discuss how you want to start a rental property business. The advantage of this approach is that your realtor will know more about the expenses of various properties currently available. This is not just about the cost of buying the property, but also the cost of management and maintenance. Your realtor can also help you identify the localities and receive more traffic during the vacation seasons and highlight where you should invest your money to get the highest return possible. Properties in the most profitable areas will naturally be far more expensive than properties in regions that don't get as much traffic, but it will be well worth the money when you have a steady flow of customers. The other option is to go online and look for property listings that are either available for sale or available with a subletting option. Most of the properties you come across will not blatantly mention the subletting is permitted, but this can be a fantastic deal if you can convince the landlord. If a person has already permitted subletting on the property, you can be sure that the rental rates for this property will be higher than other properties. If you can find a landlord with a property in a region with good traffic in the vacation season and willing to allow subletting, that will be a very profitable deal. If you can convince them to give you the property for the advertised price, or even less, and allow you to do business there, that will be fantastic. Online property hunting is a great way to start because you can move directly towards properties that have higher seasonal traffic. Unless you live in a city with a high domestic or international vacation value, you will have to move to the other locations to take advantage of the footfall. For instance, if you live in a city in the middle of the country and the bulk of travelers prefer to go to one of the coastal cities, then that is where you should invest your money. The more footfall you have, the higher the rates you can charge. Consider getting in touch with your local chamber of commerce or any vacation rental property association in your area, as this will help you get familiar with the industry. Another great way to get a property you can use for your vacation rental is to get it from someone trying to get out of the business. This way, you can get an already set up property that is ready for clients. If they are desperate to get out of the business quickly, you can also save a good amount of money in the process. Having access to people in your area in this business will also grant you access to other resources. For instance, you can get things at a really good price if someone is upgrading their property and needs to get rid of old furniture, fixtures, or fittings. How to add value to your vacation rental. The location of the property is probably the most valuable thing about it. Different people will look at the same location differently and assign it a value accordingly. When you are looking to enhance the value of the space, it is a good idea to consider the environment and to make adjustments that will develop the feel of the space. At the same time, you want to consider the kind of client you are targeting, their unique needs, your own preferences, and the requirements of the structure itself. For instance, if you have a property with a beachfront, it will make sense to have a shower outside near its entrance. If you target small families or young couples with young children, it might be good to have a small jacuzzi or a small pool where very young children can safely play in the water. If you have just acquired a property, start by taking stock of what you have and evaluating the home's current condition. A lot of houses that have been empty for several years still have very usable things in them. They just need a bit of cleaning and prepping to get them into good shape. You might see an old couch that looks like it is worn out, but you can very inexpensively get it redone with a fresh layer of padding and a brand new cover. There might be things that are no longer necessary in the house. For instance, if you plan to have smart access to the home, go ahead and remove all the old locks. There are also bigger modifications that you could make. If you have a large property with a lot of open space, you could add a couple of rooms or enlarge a certain part to meet the needs of your business and your clients better. One of the most important things to keep in mind is the lighting. Today, there are a lot of lighting solutions that are beautiful, useful, and efficient. Moreover, lighting can completely change the look and feel of a space. If you want to make your furniture look better, get better lighting. Lighting on the outside of the building is very important. Invest in good lighting in every part of the house. Residents also require storage. Closets for clothes and other things are great, but also consider having a safe in the house. People on vacation usually have valuables with them, whether cash, jewelry, or any other asset. Providing a safe will be a unique selling point that will make your accommodation that much more valuable. Before you get the space ready for clients, make sure you remove all personal belongings and things that would be indicative of the previous tenants. This is especially true if you also use the space as a seasonal home. Family photos, private documents, or other personalized items should be removed. You want the space to be as neutral as possible, so they feel like it is their home. Furniture and other things used in the renovation process can be quite pricey. Mattresses built for commercial purposes can cost quite a bit. It is highly recommended that you get the best quality you can afford for the durability and longevity it offers. Commercial-grade furniture is specifically built for use by a lot of people on a frequent basis. This will save you money in the long run. Otherwise, you will be incurring a lot of expenses by constantly replacing broken and worn-out things. This will also compromise the tenant's experience if they use a constantly creaking bed, for example. If you have the budget, it is good to get professional assistance. You can work with an interior and exterior designer or consult who can help you find solutions that will work for your situation more appropriately. Similarly, you can get a developer to help you when it comes to construction. This will cost more money, but it will definitely be worth it. Also, you won't have to spend time or effort in the designing, product procurement, or construction phases. How to buy a vacation rental. If you already have a secondary property, maybe some farmland out in the country or a little cabin up in the mountains, you can use that as your first vacation rental. Since it will probably be vacant for most of the year, this is a great way to get into the vacation rental business and understand what it is like to manage such a business. If you don't have a second property, you will need to buy one or look for a property you can rent and get permission from the landlord to sublet. The main challenge in the vacation property business is the capital. You need money to be able to buy a property, or at least enough capital to put up a down payment. Then, you have the ongoing property costs that you have to consider. There are a few different financing options you can look into. The first solution is to put up a down payment on the house and then put the remaining payments into a mortgage plan or a residential property loan. If you have enough capital for the down payment and your current monthly income can support a mortgage or a loan, this is a great solution to go for. Another option to consider is the Home Equity Line of Credit, HELOC. This is a great solution for large expenses, such as buying a vacation home, and it also comes with significantly lower interest rates. HELOC options are also quite quick to process, so you can get started on your business within a matter of days. Traditional loans are an option, but the challenge is the high interest rate. Usually, if you are buying a home as a second or third home in your mortgage plan, you might be able to get a better rate, but it depends on the bank you are working with. If you have a 401k retirement fund, you can also get a loan that uses your retirement fund as collateral. In such a program, you will be limited by the size and kind of 401k plan your employer has in place, but it is an easy option to get. If you are looking to get a relatively inexpensive property, this can be a great solution to consider. Some banks also offer cash-out refinancing. This is when you replace your current loan or mortgage with a higher value loan, and the difference is given to you. This is a quick way to raise some capital for your new vacation home. This might not be enough to get you to buy the home itself, but it is a great way to raise some capital for other activities, such as renovations or marketing. If you currently own your home or any other property, you can look into getting a reverse mortgage. This is when you use your property as security and get money in return. You still retain ownership of the home until you decide to sell it. How to market your property. How you decide to market your property depends entirely on the kinds of clients you want to attract. For instance, if you are looking to attract local clients, you will be focusing on national-level marketing. If you are looking to get people from a certain part of the country, then you can further refine your marketing and focus specifically on that region. If you want to get clients from a particular country, focus on that region. For instance, Spain gets a lot of tourists from the UK, and many people offering vacation rentals in Spain focus purely on tourists from the UK. Many of the ones offering places for rent are UK nationals who moved to Spain for their retirement. They are also very familiar with the requirements of people from the UK, and they give these tourists the best solutions possible. When marketing your property, you can use offline methods such as newspapers, radio ads, or billboards, but these will only work for a local audience. Moreover, offline ads can be quite expensive, and it's very difficult to gauge their effectiveness. Even for a local audience, online ads work extremely well. For instance, if you are running an ad campaign on a social media platform, you can see exactly how many people have seen your ad. You can see who they were, their main characteristics, how they interacted with your ad, what they liked or didn't like about it, and a range of other things that will help you streamline your marketing. Moreover, there are countless platforms dedicated to travel and accommodation where you can put up your rental. One of the most popular platforms is Airbnb, but there are dozens of other viable options as well. The great thing about these platforms is that they have a very specialized audience. Everyone coming to these platforms is already looking for accommodations. In a way, they are potential clients that don't need any convincing. All you have to do is appear high enough in their rankings, have a good reputation, and have the right kinds of rates to attract them. Some property owners also merge their offerings with other service providers. For instance, if you have a property in Canada, you might team up with another company that offers tours, and they can use your property for one of their visits. You can sell it to the company, or have the company feature your property on their services, gaining access to a very small audience that is extremely willing to buy. Tips for success. When setting prices for your accommodation, keep in mind the different costs you will have to bear besides the operational costs. For commercial properties, the property tax is often much higher. Also, consider the cost of utilities. When guests stay over, you don't know how they will use your amenities, so it is best to stick to the highest margin. Also, consider the cost of damage, wear and tear, and depreciation on your assets. Accidents are bound to happen, and there will be things that need to be replaced over time. Consider the marketing costs. Marketing is something you can very easily spend a lot of money on, and you will most likely have to initially market on a regular basis until you have a good reputation and a list of regular clients you can rely on each season. Instead of having a separate marketing budget, price that into your rental prices. Many rental property owners manage the property themselves. They clean the property, buy things, do construction and maintenance tasks, and manage every aspect of the business on their own. This is great for a single property, but it will be more efficient to get a company to do this for you in the long run. This will also improve the quality of service your clients receive, and you can charge higher prices when you provide a better experience. Before you set foot into this business, look at how similar rentals in the area are priced. Are you getting enough return on investment? Study the market in every possible way. Look at the busiest time of the year in that region and how long the season lasts. If you are only serving clients for 1 month out of 12, it is highly unlikely that this will be profitable for you. When buying the property, spend as much as you can on getting the right location. If you are in a really good location, people don't mind having a slightly lower quality accommodation or slightly weaker service. Over time, you can improve the accommodation, but you can't change locations that easily. Even if you have to go above your budget, it is well worth it if you get a great location. Chapter 5. Flipping Houses. Flipping houses is one of the most lucrative investments in real estate. However, it requires a unique set of skills and sufficient experience to identify the right house to flip. In this chapter, we'll discuss what house flipping is, how to choose the right property, the costs behind the upgrade, and a few tips and strategies to guide you through the process. What does flipping houses mean? Flipping houses involves buying a property, holding on to it for a while, and selling it for a higher price. This property may be in poor condition and needs to be renovated. Many people like to buy properties with prices that are expected to rise in a couple of years so they can sell them and make a profit. Other people with enough capital prefer to renovate the property and sell it as soon as they are finished upgrading. This speeds up the sale, but requires sufficient funds and hiring a trusted contractor to get the job done properly in the shortest time possible. House flipping can be advantageous to both the investor and the buyer. The investor typically purchases the property at a lower price. With a few upgrades, they can make a significant profit even after adding the costs of repairs. And the new buyer benefits from purchasing a completely renovated house at a competitive price. This strategy has become increasingly popular in recent years, even among people who don't work in real estate. Before selecting a property, an investor needs to study the local market and find out the appealing factors to buyers in the neighborhood and the property's cost, condition, unique characteristics, and renovation costs. The ideal properties are underpriced and located in a neighborhood in high demand. Once the investor finds a property, they must determine how to finance the renovations. Cash is the best way to finance this project if the investor has enough capital, as it offers the highest profit margin with no interest fees required. Another method is taking a short-term bank loan to pay for the renovations. The investor must apply for the necessary permits to comply with building standards when performing the renovations. Any plumbing, electrical, or layout upgrades require permission from the local authorities. Depending on the investor's architectural knowledge and the property's condition, they decide on the type of upgrades to implement on the home. If it requires more than a few touch-ups, hiring a professional contractor might be the way to go. Flipping houses allows investors to buy a house at a low price within their current budget and use it to gain a profit in a few years in its original condition, or upgrade it and sell it in a few months. You can make a good income in a short time if you know the ins and outs of this business. An upgraded house is attractive to new buyers who don't want to go through the trouble of fixing the property. As an investor, renovating a property and turning it into a dream house for someone can be extremely fulfilling. You'll also contribute to increasing the value of a neighborhood when fixing subpar homes in the area. One of the main risks of investing in flipping homes is choosing a poorly constructed house, which can be extremely expensive to renovate. You may exceed your budget and eventually lose money on the investment when you flip the property. Another downside to this strategy is you need to have considerable experience in real estate and architecture to evaluate the property's condition and pick the right house to flip. The costs of flipping a house. When flipping a house, you'll be incurring purchasing, repairing, carrying, and marketing costs. These costs vary depending on the property's size, location, and scale of renovations required. For a lucrative investment, an investor shouldn't spend more than 10% of the property's price on these costs. Let's take a look at what each of these costs entails. The property's acquisition price includes its purchase price and additional closing costs. These include the title fees, insurance premiums, and extra fees to settle this business transaction. The property's price includes the house's and land's cost and size, whether it's an apartment, house, condo, single home, or multi-home living. Remember that condos only include the property's price without the land. The price may also vary if appliances or special features are included in the construction or interior design. Before deciding to buy a property, first, you must find out the average cost of properties in the same neighborhood or local market. Keep in mind the 70% rule when flipping a house to determine the maximum price to spend on the property. This rule states that you should pay 70% of the after-repair value while subtracting the property's renovation costs. This offers you a 30% profit margin while calculating the most significant expenses of the property. If you're just getting started with this strategy, opt for a property that requires minimal repairs or a few cosmetic touch-ups. The property's closing costs fall on the investor, including title company fees, title insurance, property insurance and taxes, and transfer taxes. These costs should not exceed 5% of the total purchase price. If the purchase price is $100,000, expect to pay $105,000 accounting for the closing costs. You must calculate all the added costs of buying a property to determine how much it will cost to flip it. This way, you'll have a better estimate of your profit margin. When it comes to determining the cost of renovations, it comes down to the property's size, its condition, and the cost to hire a professional contractor for the job. You'll also need to factor in delivery fees in case you order new appliances on the property. Your costs are typically divided into two categories: building and appliances costs. Building costs include painting and hardware materials, lumber, steel, etc., while appliances include kitchenware like a stove, a fridge, a washer, a dryer, and an HVAC system. You'll also incur labor costs for people installing appliances or hardware, which could be charged per hour or per project. The rates are negotiated beforehand and included in the contract's agreement. You may hire a few laborers to finish the renovations, like an electrician, a plumber, a painter, a handyman, a landscaper, or a general contractor. It's recommended to purchase a property needing only cosmetic repairs, like a fresh coat of paint, new carpet, light fixtures, refinishing hardwood floors, new bathroom and kitchen faucets, planting flowers, mowing the lawn, and cleaning up the driveway. To estimate the cost of renovations, a good rule of thumb is to spend $30 per foot on minor repairs. These minor repairs can be done in a short time before putting the house on the market at a higher value. While the property's purchase price won't be as low as a distressed house requiring extensive renovations, you can still gain a decent profit while cutting back on carrying costs. Of course, your return on investment increases in higher rehab projects. The carrying costs are paid on a regular basis as long as you're holding on to the property. These costs encompass any loans you took to buy the property and to finance the renovations. You could divide the costs between a bank loan and a personal credit card by taking a private money loan to buy the house and using your card to renovate it. You'll have to pay interest and other fees the bank or hard money lender requires. The interest rate might be higher than the standard market rate, but you may not have any other way to purchase a property. Make sure to factor in these costs before deciding on your investment. Another type of loan is a home-style renovation loan, which allows you to buy the house and renovate it with one loan. To qualify for this loan, you need to make permanent repairs to the property, which increases its value. Lenders usually ask to approve the contractor working on the property and limit the rehab costs to 50% of the after-repair value. If you decide to use cash, you have to consider all the costs required to flip a house. You may have enough cash to buy the property, but not enough for renovations or extra expenses. While you won't pay a hefty interest rate, you still risk spending a sufficient sum of your personal money on one property, which limits your investment in multiple properties. When settling the property's transaction, you may be required to pay taxes for the rest of the year in addition to property taxes every month. This rate ranges from state to state, so make sure to look up local property taxes. Property insurance is also a requirement, covering you financially in case of damage or hazards like a fire or flood. These hazards must be accounted for, especially when you're purchasing a distressed property. You'll need a different kind of insurance policy for a flipper house since you won't be living in it. This type of insurance is called vacant property insurance and covers any damages that can be incurred during the flip. The carrying costs also include utility bills, which vary depending on the electric, water, and gas usage and the property's size and condition. You have to turn on the utility services as soon as you buy the property, because it could take a couple of weeks, and your contractor won't be able to work without these services, which delays the renovations. The final costs in flipping houses are the marketing and sales cost. These include open house expenses, flyers, brochures, and for sale signs. Marketing costs vary depending on your budget and the profit you're aiming for after the sale. You may opt for cold calls or door knocking, which costs nothing if you're on a budget. Some investors hire professional advertisers to create an extensive marketing campaign on billboards, television, and radio. How to choose the right property. Knowing which property to choose is a crucial aspect of house flipping. If you choose the wrong house, you'll end up losing money, either by spending too much on renovations or not being able to make it that appealing for buyers. There are a few factors to keep in mind when looking for the perfect property to flip. The first factor to look for is the property's location, which is the top priority in real estate in general. The city and neighborhood determine the property's value and give you an idea of the selling price after renovations. Additional factors include proximity to various services like health centers, good schools, and public transportation. Proximity to certain areas like a highway or an airport decreases the property's value, so keep this in mind when searching for locations. When gathering information about a property's location, you have to include a demographic profile. What kind of people mostly reside in the neighborhood? Are they mostly families, students, or young couples? A family-dense neighborhood means you'll have to look for properties near a school district, while an area with younger groups or single people won't care so much about a school district. Find out whether people prefer to own a car or ride public transportation, and if the area has abundant parking spaces. If people rely on their cars for transportation, then a garage addition or a driveway to your property makes for a good selling point. When looking for a property to flip, you have to think like a buyer. What would you like to have in a property? Search online for the shops and services in the neighborhood. Make notes of the type of activities available in the area to familiarize yourself with the neighborhood. Find out about the tax rates in the city, trash removal services, and other amenities. Take a tour of the neighborhood and ask people these questions to build up a profile to use when looking for properties. The next factor to consider is the property's characteristics. This includes its size, number of rooms and baths, extra constructions like a garage, and any other physical qualities. You want your property to stand out, but to have some of the common characteristics of the neighborhood as well. For example, if most houses are 2,000 square feet, you want to invest in a property that's at least 1,800 square feet with the same number of rooms and baths. If you choose a much smaller house, you may not make enough money worthy enough of your investment. If you choose a much bigger house, it may be too expensive for this area, which may not appeal to buyers interested in this neighborhood. When you find a property in a good location and characteristics, it's time to calculate the costs that come with it. This includes the purchase price, its carrying costs, and renovation costs, as discussed previously. Tips to upgrade a house. A few cheap strategies will turn your property's appearance around and make it more appealing to buyers. First, you can upgrade the light fixtures like wall sconces, entryway lighting, and living room pendants. Using indirect lighting around the house is a cheap and effective way to brighten the interiors and create a warm, homey feel. You can also upgrade all the bathroom and kitchen faucets and cabinet hardware. These details are what most buyers will look for when purchasing a house, and they won't cost much to install. Investing in some kitchen appliance panels can greatly enhance your property's value. Many people can visualize living in a house when they see the kitchen's condition, and they'd prefer not to go through the trouble of upgrading it themselves. Changing the panels will modernize the kitchen's appearance and increase the property's value. Make sure to repair any chipped or broken tiles in the bathroom or the kitchen. These may turn clients away and can be hazardous as people may trip on them. Consider refinishing the hardwood floors as well to give it a brighter look that your clients will appreciate. Another great option is to apply a fresh coat of paint to match the newly refinished floors. If the property has an attic, it's a good idea to insulate it as it adds substantial value to the house. Many buyers ask about the quality of insulation of the house by checking the utility costs. You can make use of fiberglass batting to insulate your attic, which is an effective and inexpensive option. Make sure to install the insulation before showing the house so that its power-saving effects appear on the electric bill, which many potential buyers request to see. Another cheap way to upgrade your house's appearance is to perform some basic landscaping by cutting the grass, planting some flowers, cleaning up the driveway, or fixing any uneven bricks in the house entrance. Many of these renovations are inexpensive, and you can even do them yourself. If you get into the habit of flipping houses, think about performing renovations on your own to cut back on labor costs and maximize your profit. Of course, this only works with minor upgrades, but with more extensive flipping projects, you'll need to hire professional contractors for the job. Common mistakes to avoid. The most common mistakes in flipping houses are not having enough money, time, experience, skills, or patience to complete the project. Your financing options may be limited, or you may have chosen a lender who enforced a hefty interest rate. The renovations may cost more than you anticipated, or you may not have calculated the property's carrying costs. All these factors may cost you a lot of money, and if you weren't able to sell the house quickly, you might end up not getting your money's worth. The time factor is also crucial in flipping houses. It could take you several months to find your buyer, even after renovations. The renovations may take longer than expected, which will delay the sale. If you're showing the property yourself, you may spend a lot of time commuting to and from your house. All these aspects can take a toll on you, especially if you already have a day job. If you don't have enough handy skills to do minor renovations, you'll have to hire a professional, which can cut a huge chunk of your budget. It's a good idea to learn some of these skills, whether online or by taking a few classes, so that you can do all these renovations yourself, which saves you money in future investments. If you don't have enough knowledge of the neighborhood, you may end up picking the wrong property in the right neighborhood, or vice versa. Either way, you may hold on to the property indefinitely. Make sure to use the instructions in this chapter to guide you through the process of choosing the right property to flip. Another common mistake is not taking the time to find the perfect property. It may take you weeks and months to find the right investment, and only the most experienced investors know how to spot the right property. Avoid making the beginner's mistake of buying the first property you see, no matter how tempting it is. You need to perform thorough research before committing to an investment. Don't start with a property that requires a lot of renovations. Instead, take your time to practice your flipping ventures and knowing the market before taking on bigger projects. This chapter discussed the business of flipping houses, the different costs it entails, and the cheapest way to upgrade your property before putting it on the market. Bear in mind the most common mistakes outlined in this chapter and try to avoid them. When you're a novice investor, it's best to take your time when trying to find the right property and not jump to the first opportunity. Your network of contacts will help you in finding the best contractors for the renovations, or you could invest in yourself by learning a few handy skills to implement the upgrade yourself, which is what the real professionals do in this business. Chapter 6. Property Management. When you own multiple properties, you need to hire property managers to handle the work involved with renting them out. This chapter will explain what property management is and the requirements to become one. We also highlight the responsibilities of a property manager, different types of property management, and the common mistakes to avoid when you operate in this sector. The last part outlines the tips for becoming a successful property manager. What is property management? Property management is the daily oversight of business operations of dwellings or commercial entities by a third-party contractor. Generally, a property manager is responsible for screening tenants, collecting rent, security, ongoing maintenance, and upkeep of the properties. Property managers can manage more than one property at any time, and they are also known as real estate managers, landlords, investment managers, or property administrators. Property management is a lucrative career, and the industry is constantly growing as a result of the increasing demand for residential and commercial properties. A typical property manager is responsible for the following tasks: listing properties, preparing lease agreements, screening tenants, property inspection, setting rental rates and collecting rent, organizing maintenance and repairs, marketing vacant units, communicating with tenants, ensuring that the property complies with rental regulations and local building codes, attending court proceedings, accounting and reporting, providing excellent customer service to all stakeholders. If you want to become a property manager, you should have a minimum level of education and a real estate license. You should have the following skills to deal with multiple parties involved in property management. Good communication skills. As a property manager, you are always in contact with applicants, owners, tenants, and vendors. Therefore, you should have strong verbal and written communication skills. Attention to detail is also vital, since you will be dealing with sensitive information. Problem solving. It is vital to know how to handle tenants' disputes and how to solve problems. Basic accounting. A property manager should keep track of rentals, calculate expenses, and record late fees. Organization. You should be highly organized when you handle multiple buildings. Property management certification. While a high school diploma is a minimum qualification required, you may also need undergraduate studies in property management, risk management, real estate finance, and business administration. You should consider several certifications if you want to become a property manager. The first step is to apply with a real estate broker or a property management company to become a leasing agent. You also need accreditation from the National Apartment Leasing Professional. The next step is property management after obtaining valuable industry basics in this field. When you become a certified property manager, you can oversee all types of properties, including residential, commercial, and industrial. Different types of property management. There are mainly 4 types of property management: residential, commercial, industrial, and recreational. Residential property management. A residential property manager is responsible for dealing with tenants living in family homes, vacation rentals, townhouses, apartments, condominiums, REO properties, and manufactured homes. You will be responsible for screening tenants, collecting rent, and maintaining the property. Commercial property management. As a commercial property manager, you are responsible for handling properties or land used for creating a profit. These properties include office buildings, retail stores, and hotels. Some of these properties are non-residential. Industrial property management. When you manage industrial properties, you will be responsible for various tasks, such as communicating and liaising with owners, ensuring the property complies with regulations and building codes, and coordinating real estate tax reviews. Types of commercial properties include warehouses, distribution facilities, light and heavy manufacturing industries. Recreational property management. This type of property is designed for a specific purpose, such as resorts, sports arenas, theaters, campsites, places of worship, schools, and universities. However, the demand for these services is quite low. Common mistakes to avoid. Your property is one of your biggest investments in life. To succeed in generating more income from your building, you should think like a business owner and avoid common mistakes to capitalize on your investment. Doing it yourself. Many landlords make the mistake of managing their properties to save money. While you may think you will save money by managing your properties on your own, you may realize it will end up costing you more. If you have other commitments, you may not be able to manage several properties. An experienced professional can give you peace of mind, since they know the ins and outs of the business. Hiring a real estate agent. A real estate agent is competent enough to sell your home, but it does not necessarily mean they are also a good property manager. These agents do not specialize in property management, and they do not have systems to manage multiple priorities. Others lack knowledge of landlord-tenant laws and dealing with rental properties. Additionally, you should avoid hiring a company that specializes in leasing, not management. These companies cannot find the best tenants, and you can end up facing challenges. Not having property insurance. When you are a landlord, you should know that anything can happen to your property. Therefore, you must get appropriate insurance for your property. If you get the wrong insurance coverage, you may end up losing more money. You should discuss with a licensed insurance professional to get the ideal policy for your property. Not updating your mailing address. Failing to update your postal address is another costly mistake often made by investors. The Homeowners Association can charge you money for not updating your address. You can end up facing foreclosure if you fail to meet the requirements of the responsible board in your area. Being friends with your tenants. As a property manager, you should be courteous when dealing with your residents. You should not become friends with them, since they will become complacent when it comes to paying the rent. You may end up overlooking other critical elements like late payments if you become friends with your tenants. You may also face lawsuits if other tenants discover that you are giving certain residents preferential treatment. Not aware of the condition of your property. The lack of awareness of the physical condition of your property can lead to system failures and high expenditures that can be avoided by regular maintenance. To avoid these preventable costs, you should hire a property inspector to conduct an annual inspection. Make sure you repair all the faults identified before they become bigger. When it comes to maintenance, you should be proactive instead of being reactive. Not checking the tenant's references. Contractors and tenants can have good profiles on paper, but you should not make the mistake of engaging them without calling their references. When you hire a contractor for repair work, it is vital to ensure they have a traceable history to avoid frustrations. Charging unfair rental fees. Many property managers often make the mistake of charging above market rents, which leads to losses. A vacancy in your property is a great liability that should not even happen in the first place. You should charge fair rents, respond quickly to the tenants, and treat them with respect. Unclear tenant rules and regulations. You should be clear about rules and regulations to avoid misunderstandings with your clients. Ensuring that the tenant acknowledges the lease agreement and understands all the rules is essential. When you enforce your guidelines, you should be fair. You also need a monitoring and communication system to help tenants abide by the rules. Failure to settle disputes. Don't rush to call a lawyer or report issues you can settle. You should try to resolve issues that have something to do with the landlord-tenant relationships without taking the legal route, which can be costly. Hiring unprofessional contractors. When a renter reports a fault at your property, make sure you promptly attend to it. Don't try to save money by hiring unprofessional contractors or doing it yourself. If you fail to take care of your tenants, you may end up with a bad reputation, and you will gradually lose them. Even if you know how to fix some of the issues, it is good to call a professional to avoid unnecessary expenses in the future. Use your time to grow your business instead of wasting time on things that professionals can do. Failing to screen tenants. If you are a property manager, you should not be desperate to fill vacancies. You should not go for the first tenant, since they may give you problems. Take your time to screen tenants to avoid headaches of dealing with troublesome individuals. Many landlords often face challenges when it comes to evicting tenants. Some will even end up refusing to pay rent. However, when you find loyal residents, they can stay at your property for a long period. You should not get stuck with people who may cause harm to your business. Allowing residents to handle repairs. You should make it clear in your rules that tenants should repair all faults. Make sure you hire a professional contractor even when the tenant says they are skilled. A renter can do a shoddy job which will cost you more money in the future. Tips and tricks to become a successful property manager. Property management requires you to handle many things that involve tenant issues, maintaining the place, negotiating contracts. The following are some of the things you can consider helping you smoothly manage properties. Be consistent. When you set policies and protocols, you should be consistent to eliminate potential problems that can harm your relationship with your tenants. All rules should be in writing, and the tenant should sign a lease agreement before you offer them a place to stay. Likewise, you must have a protocol for each situation likely to arise. For instance, if a tenant violates a parking policy, the property manager should make appropriate discretion. Keep your accounting books up to date. Maintaining organized financial records concerning rent and property expenses, such as trash removal, maintenance, and employee payroll, is vital. You should know the money coming in and properly manage your expenses to realize your profit goals. You can consider hiring a professional bookkeeper if you don't have time to balance your books. Outsource other tasks. It is a good thing to outsource other tasks like repair work. Specialists should handle certain things if you want to maintain your property in good shape. For example, hire a professional carpet cleaner company if pets have soiled the mat. Do not ignore specific issues since they can be costly in the long run. Perform routine inspection. You should hire a professional to conduct a routine inspection at least once every year. This will help reduce the risk of potential problems developing at your property. The following are some of the items that require an annual inspection: HVAC systems, smoke or fire alarms, emergency door access, roof, windows and doors, power supply. When the inspector identifies a potential problem, quickly respond to it. Keep the right property management tools. You must keep the right property management tools, such as promotional or marketing materials, blank lease copies, and safety items. You should have cleaning materials and other on-site needs, such as office supplies and emergency essentials. Problem-solving skills. You should have good problem-solving skills to be able to solve disputes without hiring a lawyer. Do not threaten tenants with eviction for violating the rules and regulations. Some of the issues can be solved informally, and this will help you create a lasting relationship with the tenants. Maintain office hours. If you are a property manager, you should establish and maintain office hours. This will help the tenants know when you are available for non-emergency situations. The tenants can also contact you easily when they want to make a maintenance call. Regular office hours will also allow prospective tenants to visit you and make inquiries about available vacancies. Other service providers like cleaners, maintenance specialists, and others can contact you easily if you maintain office hours. Communicate effectively. You should communicate effectively with your tenants to know what is expected of them. You should inform them about property maintenance schedules, such as elevator repairs, window cleaning, or roof repairs. Your tenants should also know when you intend to come for an inspection. Send email or SMS updates to the tenants to make proper arrangements to maintain their daily schedules. Dealing with tenants can be stressful. However, you can avoid this by maintaining a positive attitude to keep your sanity. You must try to be a good listener and get to the bottom of every issue reported to your office. Impartiality is also critical when you deal with different people. You should avoid bias, since this can cause disharmony among other tenants. Follow property management trends. Like any other industry, the property sector is dynamic. For instance, things like technology, interest rates, and market trends are constantly changing. Other elements like demographics, overall economy, and housing laws also change. Therefore, you must keep pace with the changes that may impact your business. You need to be proactive so that you are not caught unaware. Make sure you adopt technology and property management software to improve efficiency in your operations. This can go a long way in helping you handle tasks like rent collections, bookkeeping, maintenance calls, and others. Respond to your residents' needs. You must keep an open line of communication with your renters and quickly respond to their needs. Alert them about upcoming events that can affect them and show your commitment to improving their experience. This will increase the chances of loyal residents renewing their leases. You should also be community-oriented, and you can achieve this by hiring a community manager. This person can handle communal tasks like trash removal and know the region well. Community managers can promote engagement among all members. They can also arrange social events to bring together people from different backgrounds. Prioritize marketing. Daily marketing is critical if you are concerned about the growth of your business. You need to look for the right clients. It is important to market your properties to prospective renters if you have vacant units. Choose appropriate channels to market your business. For example, social media has gained popularity in recent years, and it can help you reach your targeted audience. You should also aim to expand your portfolio by reaching out to many property owners. Create a powerful portfolio that will make you stand out from the rest. Know your market and properties. If you want to be a successful property manager, you should know all your properties. If a potential renter calls, you should be ready to answer any question. Try to be honest when you talk to clients. Lying can damage your image. The other important thing you should do is know your market. You must know your competitors and the key property owners in the market. This will help you decide on effective strategies that will give you a competitive advantage. You should understand the threats that exist in the market so that you will be able to come up with a good strategy. Engage residents. It is vital to engage with the residents when making key decisions that can impact them. You consult them when you want to make big changes. Tenant involvement also helps you strengthen your relationship with them. Engagement also helps retain current tenants and attract new renters. Try to act on the information you get from the tenants to build trust among them. Set short and long-term goals. When you run this kind of business, you must have short and long-term goals. Make sure they are measurable and do not try to do the impossible. For example, your long-term goal in property management should be about increasing revenue. You can achieve this by working with several landlords. Try to offer great service to your clients so that you can attract more people. You should stick to the parameters you set. Only make changes that will make a positive impact on your business. Make your property owners happy. Try to find ways to make your property owners happy if you want to be a successful property manager. You can do this by collecting rent from the tenants on time and keeping the property well maintained. You should ensure that all damages are repaired on time and try to get reliable tenants who are easy to retain. You can also send a gift to celebrate the owner's anniversary. Send complimentary reports to the owners so they know what needs to be done on their properties to retain clients. Ask for resident feedback. Feedback from the tenants is a core component that can determine your success as a property manager. If you receive a maintenance call, you should make a follow-up to check if the issue was resolved. Ask the resident to leave some feedback and try to make the process simple. You can also conduct a feedback survey to gain insight into the needs of different people using different properties under your management. If someone is moving out of the property, you can also ask them to leave feedback. This information will help you make informed decisions to retain tenants. Property management is a lucrative industry since it continues to grow. We have explained what property management is and the things you need to know when you decide to venture into this sector. It is vital to understand your properties and the market in which you operate. More importantly, you must have the right tools for the task. Chapter 7. Wholesaling. Basic brokering. Property wholesaling is a great way to invest in real estate. Many investors have made profit by wholesaling different properties in a relatively shorter time than other real estate investments like flipping houses or lease options. While other real estate options can be just as lucrative, wholesaling has numerous advantages. So, what is wholesaling and how does it work exactly? Let's take a look at how you can start as a wholesaler, the right markets to choose from, and how to avoid some of the most common mistakes in this business. What is wholesaling? As a wholesaler, you'll obtain a property's contract from the seller and then find an end buyer to purchase that property. In this case, you won't own the property, but you'll just be responsible for selling its purchase rights to another person. This type of real estate investment is one of the easiest ways to gain a quick profit without investing your own money. You don't need substantial capital to work as a wholesaler, and you can use this as a stepping stone in the real estate business. Your primary business objective in wholesaling is to find a property owner selling their house for less than the market value. This is typically a house that needs significant repairs, which is why it's being sold for cheap. You'd be convincing the seller to put you in charge of the contract to assign it to a buyer. In return, you get a percentage of the property's cost, known as a wholesaling fee. The buyer is usually an investor looking for a fixer-upper, but doesn't want to find a property or convince owners to sell it. A real estate investor would buy this property and turn it around to sell it at a much higher price. As a broker, you gain your income by finding buyers for these properties. The wholesaling business has minimal risks because you don't have to invest your money, but it requires a great deal of market research and negotiation skills. You have to spot the properties being sold under their market value and negotiate with the sellers to give you the rights to buy them. To close the sale, you need to establish a wide range of contacts and create a wholesaling buyers list. If you are able to cover all these aspects, you'll gain a powerful insight into the world of real estate, and you can use this experience in other types of property investments. This helps you expand your business and establish your reputation. Let's take a look at a simple example to clarify the idea. Let's assume you find a homeowner who's facing difficulty selling their property, which is distressed and needs extensive renovations to be inhabitable or attractive to potential buyers. The owner doesn't want to go through the trouble of renovating the property, so they consider a wholesale agreement with a broker like yourself. The agreement states that you have the right to buy the property at a lower rate than its market value because it requires renovations. You'd then find another buyer offering to purchase the property at a higher rate than the original owner's selling price. You sell the rights to buy the house to the new buyer, so you won't be buying the property itself, but merely the rights to purchase it. In this case, your wholesaling fee is the difference between the original owner's asking price and the end buyer's offer. While house flipping seems like a similar concept, wholesaling is considered less risky because you don't buy or fix the property. You only invest some of your time to find potential sellers and buyers. However, the time and money spent in wholesaling is a fraction of that spent on house flipping. When you expand your real estate business, there's no reason you can't invest in both methods. Wholesaling laws. There's a wide misconception that wholesaling is an illegal practice. However, it doesn't have to be when performed correctly. Wholesaling rules and regulations exist to protect wholesalers, so make sure you learn the laws of your state. Remember, you're not participating in a contract as a real estate agent, but as a mediator between the seller and end buyer. For this reason, you have to disclose your will to purchase equity in the property without actually buying it. You'll have to acquire a proof of fund document as evidence of your intentions. The process is considered illegal if the contract is ill-structured and doesn't include a disclosure of your intent. An obvious question comes to mind. Do you need a license to work as a wholesaler? You don't have to be a licensed real estate agent to mediate the property's contract. You just need to be the primary buyer and then sell the property to the end buyer. You can still wholesale if you have a license, but you must disclose your position in the contract. This means you need to mention that you're not the property's owner, but you just have the right to purchase by disclosing your valid purchase agreement. You must always check the rules specific to your region before attempting to wholesale properties. Make sure to consult a real estate lawyer to guide you through this process. Here are some general rules and best practices to keep into account. Disclose your position as the principal buyer when closing the deal with the original owner and the principal seller when closing the deal with the end buyer. Make sure the contract is valid and includes the same aspects and clauses as a typical purchase contract. This involves writing legitimately binding sales and purchase terms. It's best to have an attorney present to confirm the terms. Be mindful of the language used in the contract, as it may be confusing to first-timers. It's a good idea to pay a deposit to the original owner to validate your intent to buy the purchase rights. In real estate terms, this deposit is known as earnest money, and it shows the owner you're serious about this investment. If you have enough money to fix the property, it becomes a good backup plan in case you can't find a buyer for the distressed property. You can fix it yourself and then sell it at a much higher price. This way, you've combined the advantages of wholesaling and flipping houses without paying full money for the property. Instead, you'll just finance the repairs to make it more appealing to buyers. Building a buyer's list. A buyer's list is simply a record of potential investors always looking for new deals. It includes contact information like full names, phone numbers, emails, buying criteria, type of funding, and source of referral. You should update your list regularly to expand your network of contacts. The term buyer's list is essential in any business, but it specifically refers to wholesaling in real estate. Establishing a reliable buyer's list requires a lot of time and effort, as you won't find a general list for all investors. A buyer's list is a wholesaler's top asset. You'll need it to identify a potential wholesale property and find a buyer. You shouldn't wait for a property to build your list, as this will lead to accumulated costs and delayed transactions. If you have a proper buyer's list, you'll have a few leads to contact and speed up the selling process. Remember that wholesaling is about securing profit in a shorter time frame, and having a wide network increases your chances of succeeding in this business. When establishing your list, you should have a sorting system to access your leads easily. Categorize them according to budget, property criteria, like commercial, multi or single family, or residential homes, and project type, whether it's a rental, fixer-upper, or prehab property. Each investor has their own approach to wholesaling property deals, so it's up to you to match them with their ideal property. This way, you'll be customizing the wholesaling process by saving time and approaching your target investors. There are several approaches and strategies to build a reliable buyer's list. The first method is to attend networking events. You can find many potential buyers and investors and add their contacts to your list. Look up networking events happening in your area on social media platforms. Real Estate Investor Association, or REIA, meetings are an excellent starting point to get in touch with professional investors. Make sure to attend courthouse functions, where you can talk to potential buyers, get their contacts, and find out what kind of property they're interested in. Home and trade shows are also great places to build your list. Don't forget to talk to real estate attorneys and money lenders in these events, because they have a deep insight into the various business transactions of real estate. They usually have a wide network, so don't limit yourself to only targeting potential investors. Remember to create a brand-efficient business card to pass along in your meetings and networking events. Email marketing is another great tool to reach numerous contacts with one click. Many investors use this method to reach other investors and buyers to add them to their list. You can also send direct mails, which help you to expand your reach. You just need to identify your target audience and the type of mail piece to send them before setting up an inbound marketing system. This way, investors will approach you instead of having to look for them in the market. Another important method is to use content marketing to pique investors' interest. This approach doesn't necessarily market your brand, but it simply offers an idea of your services as a wholesaler by posting pictures and videos of your wholesale properties to build trust among investors, increase your visibility, and help you generate more leads. You need to manage accounts on several social media platforms, as an active online presence is crucial in attracting investors these days. It's also important to invest some of your time in building and managing a professional website displaying your wholesaling services. This allows investors to visit your pages and website to browse for information and contact you to close deals. Another common way to reach investors is to use a bandit sign with a simple, catchy line with your phone number underneath. You can either print the words or write them by hand. Once you have a property to sell, spread 20 to 30 signs in your target market. Make sure to add these signs in crowded areas like malls, business districts, and busy intersections. If you come across a for rent sign, take a picture of it on your phone and contact the number included, securing some contacts for potential landlords who may consider expanding their properties. How to find wholesale properties. To succeed as a wholesaler, you must find the perfect property that fits the wholesaling criteria. Searching for listings in the multiple listing service, or MLS, is an effective way to generate leads, but you need to use several ways to increase your chances of finding the right property. There are two types of properties: listed and unlisted. Private sellers may own properties found in the MLS that are in pre-foreclosure or are owned by a bank. These properties are easy to find but not easily secured because many investors target them. The unlisted properties are harder to find but offer a potentially higher profit margin. These hidden gems need some extra time and money to find, but the returns can be very lucrative. Private sellers list their properties on the MLS by forming an agreement with a real estate agent. They are easy to find, but you'll have to go through an extensive list of properties to find the ideal one. You'll have to find a distressed property and still deal with the agent representing that property. However, it's still a good way to look for leads for your next investment. Another type of listed property is pre-foreclosure properties that need the bank's approval before the transaction. Sometimes the procedures can be delayed as many banks enforce restrictions on the property's sale or purchase for a certain period. In these cases, you need to learn the bank's policies to find out if wholesaling is even an option and avoid wasting your time. For unlisted properties, sending direct mails like postcards, catalogs, letters, and brochures to owners in foreclosure, owners with properties in probate, or absentees. A direct mail gives those owners an idea to consider selling their property and contact you to handle the process. You can also use outdoor signs to find properties similar to the bandit sign strategy. These can include banners, billboards, and even car magnets and stickers. Use online platforms like Google and Facebook for pay-per-click advertising. While it seems like an outdated idea, it's still sufficient to generate leads. Each platform has an advantage in advertising. For example, Facebook settings allow you to target specific demographics and quality of people, while Google attracts people using certain keywords in their searches. Another traditional but effective way is driving for dollars. This term refers to driving around your neighborhood to try and spot potential properties for wholesale and contact the owners to negotiate a deal. Common mistakes to avoid. The first mistake you need to avoid is not performing extensive market research. You need to know your target market and audience to know how to buy the right house in the right neighborhood. You need to choose a location that you can market to potential investors. This brings us to the second mistake, which is not understanding what investors are looking for. To find the ideal buyer, you must talk to them about their needs and vision of their ideal property before you even suggest the properties you're already holding. The next common mistake is not staying in touch with people on your buyer's list. Remember, this list is your greatest asset, so you must cultivate your relationships with these potential buyers to know whether or not they shift their interests to other neighborhoods. Even if you have a reliable buyer's list, keep going to events and meetings. It's the only way to maintain and expand your network to reach potential investors in this business. In this chapter, we discussed wholesaling and how to find potential properties and investors in the market. Remember, your goal is not to manipulate sellers to give your purchase rights. It's better to work with them so that both of you can get what they need out of the transaction. Take every investment opportunity as a means to learn more about the business. Establish rapport with investors in the market to gain respect in the community. Practice socializing and speaking publicly whenever you can to improve your communication and negotiation skills, which are your main assets in the real estate business. Chapter 8. Investment Properties. In a nutshell, a property you purchase with the intent to make a profit from can be classified as an investment property. However, there can be a wide variety of properties within that category. For instance, if you buy a vacation rental you can enjoy for a couple of weeks a year and have it rented out for the other 50 weeks of the year, it is a source of income and can be classified as an investment property. In reality, investment properties can be broken down into several kinds. What is an investment property? Properties can be broken down into three categories. The first is the residential property that is also your residence. In legal terms, and specifically in the context of tax, You must know that your residential property is a unique entity. Just like any other property, the price of your home or your apartment or whatever kind of residence you have will increase. However, this increase in price will not be considered a form of earning or business. The second home people have, or the second property they purchase, is seen as different. Some people will rent out this home, maybe in the form of a vacation rental or in the form of a property that is full-time on rent. Under different accounting terms and legal frameworks, second homes are also looked at differently. Generally, there is no limit to how many second homes you can have, as these are all places you use on a temporary basis, and they can be scattered all over the world. The key thing here is that you actually use this home from time to time, but also use it as a source of revenue. The third kind of property is what is known as an investment property, and that is one you have purchased purely for the sake of making money from it. This can be in the form of the rent that you charge from the property or the appreciation in value from holding the property for long periods of time. In this third form of property, it is important to note that houses bought to flip are not considered investment property. People who buy a property and sell it within a short amount of time for profit, or those that redo the property and then resell it, are not considered people in the investment property business. Investment properties are those held for a long time. Another thing to note is that accountants, tax professionals, or real estate agents will all define these properties differently. When looking to secure a loan or some kind of financing for an investment property, it can be quite challenging to define whether you are buying a second home or an investment property. When it comes to raising capital for such a property, it will always be in your best interest to classify that asset as a second home. When you tag it as an investment property, not only are the rates for the financing going to go up, but you are also opening yourself up to a lot more paperwork, more tax-related concerns, and more legalities overall. Types of investment properties. Real Estate Investment Trusts, REITs. REITs are companies that have complete or partial ownership in large commercial or residential projects and allow investors to purchase a part of that property. These can include malls, cinemas, restaurants, hospitals, or any other large property. Just as you would buy the share of a company on a stock exchange and become a partial owner of the company, you can invest in the shares of an REIT and become a partial owner of the property that they own. The great thing about REITs is that they offer very good returns, and you don't have to carry many risks. When you invest in a company, you are relying on their products or services and the competency of the management team. Anything can change a company's financial situation, but the property is a very stable avenue to invest your money into. Moreover, in most states, REIT firms are bound by law to pay out 90% of their total earnings in a financial year to shareholders. You never really know exactly how much the company earned with other companies, and even though they might be paying a good amount in dividends, it could just be a fraction of the net earnings. Another big advantage of investing in an REIT is liquidity. If you buy a single property of the same value, it could take you weeks, months, or even years to sell that asset and earn a profit. The price could fluctuate a lot during this time, and you will constantly be at risk. With REITs, you have a share you need to sell, and it is much easier to find someone who is going to buy your shares than it is to find someone who can buy the entire property from you. Moreover, the transactions are verified through the stock exchange, so you can be sure that you are investing your money in a reliable avenue. When you are buying directly off the street, you will have some concerns about the assets being legal and correctly represented. With REITs, everything is critically evaluated, certified, and allowed to be sold to the public. Crowdfunding platforms. Crowdfunding platforms are similar to REITs in that they allow a group of investors to invest in a certain property. The difference is that the crowdfunding platforms are usually home to assets that are not available on the open market. These are unique, high-value properties that will nearly always guarantee a very good margin of return. The drawback is that these platforms are often only available to a certain clientele. Some are open to the average customer, but the best in the business only deal with a small number of clients. The other thing to look out for is the payment terms. Crowdfunding platforms have their own way of managing funds. For instance, some may not allow you to withdraw your investment for a 5-year period. Even if you need the money, it becomes inaccessible. Before diving in, you need to be aware of a few nuances to crowdfunding platforms. Raw land. If you look up the property investment portfolio of some of the richest people in the world, you will notice that the highest chunk is allocated to raw land. This land is left as it is, like a jungle or whatever form it is in, and in many cases, it is used for agriculture. Some of the biggest landowners hold over 1 million acres of raw land. Raw land can be used in a variety of ways, and this dictates the kind of investment a person makes. One of the ways is to buy farmland and then use it for agricultural purposes. The other popular method is to buy raw land in an urban setting and then develop the land into homes, commercial centers, buildings, etc. This is the preferred approach for land expected to have a high value in the future. Developers will acquire large chunks of the land well beforehand and either start developing it or just hold it and then sell it later in smaller pieces to other developers. Before stepping in to buy raw land to hold or develop, it helps to understand that real estate market, the common building techniques, and relevant regulations. This kind of investment requires a lot of capital and can often take years for the investment to fully mature. Residential real estate. Under the residential property types, there are countless kinds of assets you can consider: apartments, villas, multi-story houses, farmhouses, duplexes, and many more. The most common investment in this kind of property is a single-family home. Single-family homes tend to be the fastest-selling kind of asset, and they are available at many different price points. Within the residential properties, many different strategies can be used. For instance, some people prefer to buy homes and sell them as they are for a small profit margin. Such investors rely on a high volume of sales to keep things going. Then some people prefer to redo the home and sell it for a premium. Some people prefer to buy and hold properties and sell when the overall market value has gone up. Also, different markets have their own dynamics. In some places, one strategy is more effective than the other. A completely different strategy might have to be employed in other markets, so it is important to understand the dynamics of the market you are dealing in. One of the reasons why this is a preferred property to invest in is the tax breaks you can get. For commercial properties, not only is the investment higher, but there is also a higher tax and more legalities that need to be looked into. Commercial real estate. Under the commercial real estate umbrella, there are offices, retail spaces, hotels, agricultural land, and many other kinds of assets you can consider. Commercial real estate property is a great investment because not only does the value of the property itself rise, but it can also be used to generate an income as they are. For instance, parking lots are large pieces of land that require close to no capital to set up, and they also increase in value as the city expands and the area gets more populated. The only downfall to commercial investments is that they are far more expensive than residential investments and have a higher level of risk. Also, they can have a rather heavy management expense, and if a person isn't familiar with the business itself, it can get quite difficult to manage. However, all these challenges mean that this is a less competitive market as not everyone has the capital to finance such an investment, and neither are many willing to take on the long process of owning and managing a commercial property. Financing this asset. Financing investment property is a challenging part of this business. Generally, residential properties have the lowest cost of financing. A loan or mortgage for a typical house will have a low interest rate and will only require 5% of the cost of the structure as a down payment. Second homes have a slightly higher rate of interest and require a down payment in the 5% to 10% range of the entire cost of the structure. Investment properties have the highest rate of interest and require 20% to 30% of the property's value as a down payment. Similarly, other fees related to the financial services will be higher, such as the origination fees, service charges, and any additional servicing costs that you incur. If you can decide what you are looking to buy the property for and how you intend to use it, this can help you get a more cost-effective financing solution. For instance, if you are buying a residential home as an investment property, it can be better to show the lender that this will be a second home you will use to earn income. Later on, when you think you are getting enough of a margin on the home, you can sell and benefit from the increase in real estate value. Another challenge is finding the right lender, because different institutions have different classifications of a second home and investment homes classifications. For instance, some banks will count your second home as the first residential purchase after the house you live in full time. If you were to buy a third home, it would not be considered a second home. For others, if you are earning a rental income from the second home, it is considered an investment property and not a second home. So, The way that an investment home is defined will influence how easy or difficult it is for you to get financing. Common mistakes and tips for success. The biggest mistake new investors make is that they make emotional decisions. Just because a property is appealing to you at an emotional level, it doesn't mean the market will reflect this fact. Save yourself from overpaying or underselling your property by not developing an emotional attachment to the asset. Buying an investment property is not like buying a home you will live in. It is not based on your personal preferences, rather on what will earn you more money in the long run. Don't settle for the first property you find. Give yourself time to explore as many options as possible before you finalize investing in a single property. When buying an investment property, make sure you do enough research. Look at the different options you have in your area. Look into what others are asking for similar properties. Look into what will earn you more money in the long run instead of just focusing on the best deal you are getting right now. In many cases, spending a bit more on your initial investment will help you get a better return later, even if that means going over your current budget. Financing an investment property can be a tricky business, so it is always a good idea to have more than you think you will need for the initial down payment. Also, consider looking into different financing options instead of just sticking to your local bank. If you are making multiple property purchases from the same bank, it will end up getting more expensive. When you go to a new bank, you will get far better rates, even if it is an investment property. Chapter 9. Commercial Real Estate. Commercial real estate is a kind of property used exclusively for profit-making activities. In some areas, a residential property can also be used for commercial activities. For instance, opening an Airbnb in a house you don't use. This way, a residential property can also be commercial real estate. However, it usually refers to a building or piece of land used exclusively for business. Commercial real estate is a broad term that can include many different kinds of properties, and those properties can also be further divided into specific kinds. Commercial property and commercial real estate refer to the same kind of property. What is commercial real estate? You can make money from a little retail store, a warehouse, a hotel, a hospital, even a theme park. While all these properties are classified as being commercial properties, there are major differences among each. Commercial real estate can be divided into 8 different kinds in legal terms. Office. Office buildings can be small spaces that only accommodate a single business or very large buildings that house several businesses and hundreds of people. Office spaces are also differentiated based on where they are located. Some will be urban office spaces, such as the large skyscrapers and high-rise buildings found in the city's main areas. Others will be suburban office spaces, which are usually smaller buildings or a collection of buildings grouped together in spaces like corporate parks. Office buildings can be used by a single tenant or multiple tenants using the same space. Many of these buildings are made to accommodate the unique needs of the business that will be functioning there. Also, these buildings are broken down into 3 classes. The top tier is Class A buildings. These buildings are quite new. They offer all the best amenities and services. They have excellent accessibility and are usually large structures. An example will be the latest skyscraper in the middle of the business district. They are quite expensive and are only usually by large corporations or top-tier local businesses. Class B buildings are the second grade of office spaces. These are buildings in the middle price range and also offer a good mix of services and locations. However, these buildings tend to be a little older than Class A buildings and are located a little outside of the city's main business areas. These are slightly more affordable than Class A buildings. Lastly, there are Class C buildings. These are usually structures that are more than 20 years old and offer very basic services in comparison to Class A structures. At the same time, these are located in less busy areas of the city or regions, where the traffic has now diverted to large business centers. These are the most affordable office spaces available. In some cases, these can also be buildings that are in a good location but in poor condition, and the available services are limited, so it is priced much lower than others in the same vicinity. Retail. Retail commercial real estate refers to all the different businesses we use frequently as retail clients, such as restaurants, retail stores, medical stores, grocery stores, and other service providers, such as hairdressers and dentists. The retail segment of commercial property is the largest section of this industry, and there are a lot of variations within it. For instance, a small mom-and-pop shop at the end of the store is also a commercial retail property. And the mega mall in the heart of the city is also commercial retail property. There are many different metrics used in pricing a retail space, including things like the footfall, the size of the space, the age of the building, the appropriateness for a certain kind of business, the number of tenants, and the history of the area. There are single-tenant commercial retail spaces that can be very large, even larger than many retail spaces that are multi-tenant spaces. For instance, big box stores such as Walmart or the Home Depot are huge areas occupied by a single business. The value that these businesses bring is so potent that they can even increase the property prices of other commercial and residential lands around it. Multifamily. The multifamily commercial property encompasses all kinds of property that falls outside of the single-tenant framework. This can include things like apartments, condos, co-ops, and townhomes. Just like offices, the different kinds of multifamily accommodations are also broken down into different classes. Some of these buildings can be difficult to identify. For instance, apartment buildings come in many forms, sizes, and qualities. Some apartment buildings are dedicated to a certain kind of clientele, such as student housing buildings, senior housing facilities, subsidized housing buildings, and even very expensive designer apartment buildings. In some cases, multifamily housing is classified based on the kinds of amenities present on the property. For example, walk-up buildings are 4-story or more that don't have an elevator. Generally, installing an elevator is not possible in a building that was not designed for it. So this kind of permanent classification remains until a major structural change is made or the building is rebuilt. When it comes to pricing these kinds of commercial properties, a host of metrics are used. As an investor, a person is looking for something that will give them the most value for the money they invest, either in the form of the rental value or the increase in the property value. This can be quite hard to judge because of the many factors that determine the price. Industrial. Industrial properties are those used for either manufacturing or for storage. Some of these buildings can also serve a dual function of being production or storage facility and also be an office space for the business. Industrial properties can be heavy manufacturing, light manufacturing, warehouses, or hybrid facilities. In bulk manufacturing real estate, the property is completely customized to meet the needs of the business. For instance, iron mills need everything from the ground up to be built specifically to meet their needs. Light manufacturing facilities are used primarily for their space. In such a property, a business will install its own machinery. When their operations are over, they will remove all their capital investments and leave the building in the same condition as when they got it. Warehousing is also a commercial activity in which the facility can be completely customized. For instance, a cold storage unit, or it can be used as is, such as a simple warehouse where things only need to be placed on racks. Flex industrial buildings are those in which there is some kind of manufacturing happening or part of the building being used for storage, while the rest is used for operations of the business itself. This is considered when constructing the building itself as other things are needed, such as parking space, entry for non-commercial vehicles, security, emergency facilities, and others. The perfect industrial property will be located outside the urban zones and will be located close to the main transportation routes. Sometimes they will be standalone buildings, and they can be grouped into industrial complexes in other cases. Hotel. These are buildings designed specifically for hotels. There are many different kinds of hotels, such as those that only offer accommodation, those that have restaurants, those that have a shopping center, and those that offer additional amenities, such as a private golf course. All parts of the property are considered part of the commercial real estate the business is using. These different properties are grouped in different ways, but they are all exclusively used by either a private hotel or a hotel chain. Special purpose. These facilities don't fall into any of the other commercial real estate groups. For instance, if you have a large private storage facility, an amusement park, or a public parking lot, this will be categorized as a special commercial property. Land. Commercial land refers to land used for agriculture, vacant land, a private airstrip, and all other forms of land not used for housing and accommodation. There are many different kinds of commercial land. The most popular is agricultural land. People will buy large portions of agricultural land and then lease it out to farmers rather than farming themselves. Mixed use. Mixed-use commercial properties are pieces of land or buildings used for a mix of things. For instance, a large building that has apartments on the top floor, retail shops on the ground floor, and maybe a public pool in the basement. Similarly, Some businesses buy a manufacturing facility far out from the city with on-site accommodation for employees. These are some of the mixed-use commercial properties. How can you start? When buying a commercial property or investing in a commercial property, you must understand the nature of the business conducted over there. If you don't know how the business works, it will be difficult to estimate whether or not you are paying the right price for the property. There are two ways you can start a commercial property business. Direct. Direct investment is when you purchase a property using your own capital, or capital that you have borrowed, and you become the landlord of that asset. This can be done as a group, where you and a few others get together to put up the money for a commercial property purchase. This is usually done by companies or high net worth individuals, as it can require a considerable amount of capital. However, what's more important is knowledge. Commercial property can be difficult to understand, and the market dynamics can also change quite frequently. If you know the commercial property sector in your area, you know about the commercial construction regulations. If you don't, you can hire people to manage this for you. Indirect. Indirect investments in real estate include things like real estate investment trusts, REITs, in which you buy a portion of the property or share of the property, much like how you would buy shares in a company. The landlord or the REIT firm will sell shares of a larger property they own, and you will benefit in the form of the dividend earnings. Similarly, there are exchange-traded funds, ETFs, you can invest in, which will give you partial ownership over commercial property, and you can earn dividends from this investment as well. This is a great way to start investing in commercial property, as you can start with a much smaller investment and save yourself from many risks. Moreover, you won't have to go through lengthy processes to secure an investment for your purchase, and you can get started quickly. Sub-niches within commercial real estate. In commercial real estate, there are three ways people make money. The most common is in the form of an investor. A person has money they want to invest, and they buy property. In previous chapters, we have gone into detail about how you can invest in real estate and make money from this activity. The other option is to be a broker. You might buy a property and then sell it, or you might negotiate the transaction between a buyer and a seller and make profit from the trade. This is another popular strategy and one we have discussed previously in regard to both residential and commercial real estate. The third and possibly the most profitable of the strategies is the role of a developer. In this case, you buy land or buildings, further develop them into high-value properties, and then sell them to other buyers. This process involves a lot of capital and knowledge about the different construction regulations, but the payout is well worth the effort. If you plan on becoming a developer, your best bet is to start with someone already in the business. This way, you can get a good understanding of how things work and what you need to keep an eye out for in your region. Your money will also be protected as you have a joint interest with a well-reputed developer. Common challenges in commercial real estate and tips for success. The commercial real estate climate is constantly changing. It is very sensitive to international and national level events, and there are many trends you need to be aware of to make a profitable decision. The best strategy is to have a very accurate understanding of your ideal customer and to understand how you can protect yourself from changes in the environment. The other challenge is finding tenants. Businesses do not like changing their premises very frequently. Another question most new investors think about is whether they should buy an old building or a new one. Each has its own pros and cons, and it depends on what the market requires and how much money you have. In many cases, buildings in a good part of town are rebuilt several times over the course of several years because the market demand for that locality is very high. In other places, very popular locations go out of fashion when a new area gets developed. Oftentimes, a lot of the decisions you make are going to be dictated by the amount of disposable capital you have. While money is important in real estate, it is not the only asset you need. Many people started with very small investments, bought small properties, and grew into large commercial developers who now do their own housing projects. Ideally, start small and grow as you learn. Chapter 10: REIT and Mortgage Notes. Investing in REIT is an easy option you can add to a real estate portfolio to diversify it. This chapter explains the meaning of REIT and the different types you can consider. It also highlights the measures you can take to invest in REIT and the challenges you are likely to encounter. The last section discusses mortgage notes and how you can make money from investing in them. What is REIT? A real estate investment trust, REIT, is an organization that owns, operates, and finances real estate. REITs are modeled after mutual funds, and they pool capital resources from several investors. Individual investors can generate dividends from real estate investments without buying, managing, or financing any properties. Most REITs are traded publicly like stocks, and this makes them liquid. How REITs work. REITs invest in different forms of real estate, such as apartment buildings, data centers, hotels, cell towers, offices, medical facilities, warehouses, and retail centers. Diversified REITs can have different types of portfolios, and investors can buy and sell them like stocks. A company should comply with specific provisions of the Internal Revenue Code to qualify as an REIT. It should also meet the following requirements. Invest about 75% of total assets in cash, real estate, or treasuries. Pay a minimum of 90% of its taxable income as shareholder dividends every year. Obtain at least 75% of its gross income rentals, real estate sales, or interest on mortgages. The company should be a business taxable as a corporation. A board of directors or trustees should manage the company. It must have at least 100 shareholders. The company should not have more than 50% of its shares controlled by 5 or fewer people. REITs account for about $3.5 trillion in gross assets, and the publicly traded equity is about $2.5 trillion. Types of REITs. There are mainly 4 types of REITs, which include the following. Equity REITs. These are publicly traded equity REITs that own income-generating real estate like apartment complexes and office buildings. Mortgage REITs. These provide financing for income-generating real estate by offering mortgages or backed securities, as well as earning money from investment interests. Public non-listed REITs. Liquidity may be limited on these REITs since they are registered with the SEC, but they do not trade on the National Stock Exchange. Private REITs. These are exempt from SEC registration and not available on stock exchanges. These are available for institutional investors. If you want to invest in an REIT, you should first check if it is listed on the stock exchange and buy shares as you will do in any other public entity. However, private REITs are a bit complicated since they are limited to accredited and institutional investors who can access the fund directly. They also come with higher minimum investment requirements. Why invest in REITs? There are different reasons why you should consider investing in REITs. The primary reason for venturing in REITs is that they provide you with exposure to real estate, such as residential, retail, or commercial, without purchasing any property. You can invest in this industry without facing financial challenges often encountered when one purchases different properties. REITs can help you earn high dividends since companies are required to pay about 90% of their taxable revenue to the shareholders. More importantly, you can diversify your portfolio with REITs. When one segment plunges, you can leverage the other one. This can go a long way in helping you protect your investment. Problems of investing in REITs. While REITs play an essential role in your investment portfolio, they also come with challenges you should know. REITs don't provide much in terms of capital appreciation, since they must pay about 90% of their revenue generated to the investors. Therefore, only 10% can be reinvested to the REIT to purchase new properties. Other REITs have higher transaction and management fees. There are potentially high taxes, since the income distributed to investors is viewed as ordinary income instead of qualified dividends. REITs can experience huge swings as a result of volatile economies. The other challenge is lower liquidity, especially those not listed on major stock exchanges. Investors may not be able to sell a lot of shares at some point, and they will be forced to wait. Private REITs come with more risks, which is why many investors publicly list investment. The table below highlights the pros and cons of investing in REITs. Pros: liquidity, diversification, transparency, attractive, risk-adjusted returns, stable cash flow. Cons: low growth, subject to market risks, dividends are taxed like regular income, potential for high transaction and management fees. The Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, recommends that you should be wary of individuals who try to sell unregistered REITs. All REITs must be registered with the SEC. It is important to verify all publicly traded and non-traded REITs using the SEC's EDGAR system. You also need to review quarterly and annual reports to make informed decisions. What are mortgage notes? A mortgage note is a special type of contract since it is a loan secured by real estate. This is a document you should sign when you close your home, and it should reflect all the terms of the agreement between the lender and the borrower. The house you want to buy should undergo the underwriting process if you want to apply for a mortgage. The lender will decide if you are creditworthy, and they will also check the value of the home you want to purchase to see if it is enough to secure the loan should you default. A mortgage note is a document that shows how you intend to repay the loan and that you will use your house as collateral. It includes the following details: down payment amount, the total amount of the mortgage loan, payments required, terms of interest, fixed or adjustable interest rate, repayment penalties. A mortgage note is usually accompanied by a promissory note which outlines the terms for paying back the lender. It states the financial details of the loan's repayment, such as the method of payment and interest rate. A promissory note also outlines the procedure that will be followed if the borrower fails to repay the loan as agreed. Therefore, it is essential to ensure that all legal details on the promissory note are accurate. To avoid misunderstandings that can compromise your loan, you should go through all the details to understand the terms and conditions. This document is primarily designed to protect both the borrower and the lender. How can you buy and sell mortgage notes? A holder of a mortgage note or seller can sell it without the buyer's consent. If you are a mortgage or real estate investor, starting a mortgage note buying a business can be a profitable investment. The main benefit of selling a mortgage note is that the seller will receive one single lump sum payment, and they do not need to wait for the loan to be repaid. This removes the risk of non-payment. The seller will no longer have to collect their payment from the lender or manage the loan. It is essential to remember that this can only be the case when the mortgage is not sold in full. If the investor partially sells the note, they will get a smaller lump sum and receive regular payments after. How can you make money off mortgage loans? Lenders can receive payment in multiple ways, and home buyers can also save a lot of money on their mortgages. The different ways mortgage lenders can make money include origination fees. Lenders charge origination fees of up to 1% of the loan value since they use their funds when they extend mortgages. This fee typically increases the overall interest rate and total cost of the property. When the origination fee is added to the annual interest rate, the total amount to be paid on the loan will increase. Yield spread premium. Mortgage lenders can use funds from depositors and borrow from bigger financial institutions at lower interest rates. Yield spread premium is the difference between the interest rate charged by the lenders to the homeowners for providing a mortgage and the rate the lender will pay for replacing the borrowed money. For instance, the lender can borrow funds at 4% interest. Then, they will extend the mortgage at 6% interest, which means they will earn 2% interest. Discount points. Discount points can help you buy down the mortgage's interest rate. One discount point is equivalent to 1% of the mortgage amount, and this helps lower the monthly loan payments. This will save the homeowner money for the life of the loan. The type of lender, type of mortgage, and market conditions determine the extent to which the interest rate is lowered. Closing costs. The lenders charge closing fees on loans on top of application fees, origination fees, loan lock fees, and underwriting fees. A home buyer should carefully read the list of fees they should pay for the mortgage. What common problems can you face, and how do you avoid them? Mortgage loans come with different challenges you should know. The following are some of the issues you should familiarize yourself with before you approach a lender. Adjustable rate mortgages. Adjustable rate mortgages are everyone's dream since they provide low interest rates for the first 5 years. With this type of loan, you can buy a house you want and enjoy lower and more affordable payments. However, the interest rate will revert to the market rate after 5 years, which can be higher. If you can take equity from your home loan to refinance your credit, then life will be easier for you. When the prices of houses drop, borrowers often find themselves facing the challenges of refinancing their current loans. Therefore, you should shop around to find the best lender. No down payment. A down payment increases your home's equity, and it also helps lower the interest rate you will pay for the loan. A borrower who puts more money into down payment is likely to make their mortgage payments than those who put little money for the same. A borrower who owes more money is likely to walk away and leave unpaid loans, which will lead to foreclosure. Liar loans. This kind of loan does not require a lot of verification and documentation since the lender will consider the borrower's income, stated expenses, and assets. As the name suggests, the borrowers tend to lie, and they inflate their income to get bigger homes. However, Problems often arise when the buyer gets the property, but they cannot make constant loan payments. As a result, they will fall behind in their loan repayments and end up facing foreclosure. Reverse mortgages. A reverse mortgage is offered to people above 62 years old, and they can use the equity out of their homes to get a steady income. The income can be paid as a lump sum or in a steady stream of payments. However, a reverse mortgage has many drawbacks, since it consists of high upfront costs, such as mortgage insurance, origination fees, appraisal fees, title insurance, attorney fees, and miscellaneous fees. The fees can consume the equity, and this kind of mortgage can have implications on your dependents, although you will still retain the title. The dependents will need to pay off the loan. Longer amortization. Mortgages with 35 to 40 years are constantly rising in popularity, and they allow the buyers to get bigger homes. However, this loan can make sense to buyers in their mid-20s. When you are over 40, getting this kind of loan does not make any sense since you may not live beyond 80 years. This will leave your kids with a loan they may struggle to pay off. You will have less equity in your home if you get a loan with longer amortization. Additionally, these loans come with higher interest, allowing lenders to benefit from the extended period a borrower will take to repay their loan. Exotic mortgage products. Many lenders come up with different loans to help prospective homeowners to fulfill their dreams of buying properties. For instance, an interest-only loan allows you to live in the home and make interest payments only. Other types of loans allow the borrowers to decide the amount they want to pay on their mortgage. However, the challenge is that the big principal payment will be due after a specific period. Instead of building up equity, a borrower can be building negative equity. If you want to venture into the real estate sector, there are different options you can consider. You can operate in this sector without investing a lot of money in buying properties. REIT investment is one way of investing in the real estate sector without first buying properties. Before starting your business in this sector, you should also know the significance of mortgage notes. Chapter 11. Lease Options. In the previous chapters, we discussed all the different ways you can invest in real estate. However, some people don't own a property they can use to rent it to others, but they still dream of buying their own house. They may be unable to afford a down payment or even have a credit profile to realize that dream. A good alternative is to consider a lease option. But what exactly does that entail? This chapter will explain what it is, how to make money from it, and which mistakes to avoid in lease options. What are lease options? A lease option is an official agreement between a renter and a property owner, where the renter is allowed to purchase the property during or at the end of the lease period. This contract prevents the owner from selling the property to someone else. At the end of the lease period, the renter must purchase the property as agreed or forfeit their rights to do so. This agreement is also known as a lease-to-buy option, lease with the option to purchase, rent-to-own option or agreement, or simply rent option. The renter pays an option fee in advance and monthly rent for the duration of the rental period. Whether monthly or upfront, all the fees paid go to the down payment at the end of the lease period if the tenant decides to buy the property. If not, they lose all the money paid to date and have no legal liability toward the owner. This means the owner can't force the tenant to purchase the property. Lease options are considered a great alternative to people who want to own a home in the future, but with today's market price. The loss here is minimal compared to taking a bank loan or applying for a mortgage. The option fee paid up front is usually 1% of the property's price, which suits people who can't afford a down payment at the moment or are still developing their credit profile. Many property owners choose the lease option because they can't sell their property. This option appeals to first-time buyers, single people, young couples, or other segments who can't afford to fully pay for a home. The owner benefits from the monthly premium set at a higher rate than the standard rent. If the tenant didn't end up purchasing the property, the owner keeps the premiums and places the property back on the market. Lease option requirements. Lease options might be the only way for some people to own their homes with relatively low risks. So, what's in it for the property owner? The owner gets to charge the tenant a higher rental fee because they forfeit their rights to sell the property to another buyer within the duration of the agreement. The duration of the lease period varies according to the agreement between the owner and renter, which usually ranges from 1 to 5 years. This gives the renter the chance to extend the lease option if they think they need time to fix any faults in their credit rating, which is essential to qualify for a mortgage. The contract must include the property's price in advance or mention that it's subject to change at the end of the lease period. The property's value will probably change during the lease period, so it's better to accommodate potential price fluctuations in the contract. If your sale price is based on the property's current market value, you may end up losing on potential profit if the market price increases by the time of the sale. However, a lease option still guarantees you gain some profit now and throughout the entire duration of the lease. In addition, if you increase the sale price too much, this may chase away buyers because it may be difficult for them to secure a mortgage in case they have to pay more than the property's value at the end of the lease period. A premium, also called rent credit, is a portion of the standard monthly rent, which is calculated as a percentage by the owner, around 30% to 50% of the rent. If the tenant chooses to purchase the property, this premium is added to the down payment at the end of the lease. For instance, if the agreement states the premium is going to be 50% of the rent, which is $2,000, then $1,000 will go to the down payment every month. If the lease option lasts for 5 years, the down payment will amount to $60,000 at the end of the lease period. The renter may pay a valuable consideration, which is a one-time offer to the owner. This is usually a cash payment or a valuable item given to the owner, which is non-refundable and won't go toward the down payment. The consideration could be a token fee or a percentage of the property's price, usually 5 to 7%. The purpose of this fee is to ensure that the owner won't sell the property to another buyer. The contract should include which of the parties is responsible for repairs, maintenance, insurance, utilities, homeowners association fees, and other expenses. For instance, the tenant should pay for the renter's insurance and utilities, while the owner should pay for the homeowner's insurance and general maintenance. The owner has to make sure the house is properly maintained, especially the essential systems like heating, water, and electricity. Everything should be stipulated in the contract so that each party knows their legal rights and responsibilities. It's best to document the possible outcomes of the lease option in the agreement. Both parties should agree on what will happen if the tenant purchases the property before the end of the option or if they change their mind. Since the owner is compromising their rights to sell the property during the contract period, it's only fair for them to keep all the premiums and option fees paid by the tenant. However, some owners decide to return all or part of the premiums to the renter. Some owners require a security deposit, just like in a regular rental agreement. If the tenant didn't pay the rent on time, they might be evicted and, of course, lose all the paid premiums and fees. The renter should ensure the property won't be subject to foreclosure. Before signing the agreement, potential buyers usually request a home inspection and an appraisal contingency. The appraisal is to re-evaluate the property's value, which may decrease at the time of sale. How to make money using lease options. There are 3 main ways to make money with the lease option strategy. The first method is receiving the non-refundable option fee from the tenant to secure the agreement. The second method is gaining the monthly rent difference between what you receive from your tenant and what you pay to the original property seller. The third method is when you sell the property to the tenant at the end of the contract period. Let's assume you find a house with a lease option. The seller sets the house's value at $100,000 with a duration lease period of 5 years and a monthly rent of $1,000. The lease agreement states that all of your rent goes to the down payment at the time of sale. The next step is to find a tenant to take a lease option on your house. You set the property price at $150,000 and charge them a monthly rent of $1,500 for a lease period of 2 years. The tenant will give you a 10% option fee of $15,000, which you can pay toward the purchase price if you want. You agree with the tenant that 30% of their rent goes to their down payment. After 2 years, your tenant would either buy the property or forfeit their rights, in which case you still profit from their premiums while paying the original seller. If your tenant changes their mind after a year, you can find another buyer and repeat the same process. In this example, you profit from the $15,000 option fee and the $500 difference between the rent you pay to the seller and the rent you receive from the tenant every month. When the newest tenant decides to purchase the property at $150,000 after 2 years, you will use a portion of that amount to pay the original seller. Bear in mind, you were already paying them $1,000 every month as per the original purchase contract. After 3 years, you would have paid the original seller $36,000 with $64,000 to go. Now, your tenant paid you a $15,000 option fee, and the agreement states that $10,000 goes toward their down payment, plus 30% of their rent, which is $450 every month for 2 years, amounting to $10,800. The tenant paid a total of $20,800, and they still owe you the remaining $129,200. When you pay the original seller the remaining $64,000 you owe them, your profit becomes $65,200 in 2 years. This makes it an incredible investment from a single house without having to invest your personal money. Common mistakes to avoid. When structuring your lease option contract, there are a few common mistakes to watch out for. The first one is being unclear about the tenant's identity to the contract. You need to write their full legal name as per their national ID or driver's license, and it should be written at the beginning and at the end of the agreement. It may seem like an obvious aspect of any contract, but many landlords face trouble when getting their tenant's name wrong, especially if they end up in court due to a breach of contract. Another common mistake is not performing a thorough market analysis to find out the rent ranges in your area. If you don't have a specific average, you'd either overprice your property and never appeal to potential buyers, or underprice it and end up losing money. You need to reevaluate the rent every new tenant to stay up to date with market trends. Many property owners overlook the customizable aspect of a lease option agreement. In the contract, you're entitled to write any clauses you want in terms of changes in the interior design, allowing smoking or pets in the house, type of repairs and utilities payments required from the tenant, and any other aspects you choose. Writing these points officially gives the tenant some set rules to follow until they purchase or leave the property at the end of the lease period. However, you need to be reasonable with your requirements and not overcharge the tenant for extra repair fees or the security deposit. It's important to abide by state laws on these points. Another mistake to avoid is not including what happens if the tenant doesn't pay the rent. If you don't add the consequences of a late payment, you'll end up with more of them, and you won't be compensated in court. Write the details of the eviction process, late fees, and grace period next to the agreed-upon rental rate in the contract. Don't forget to include the lease period with the exact dates so the tenant knows when they can move into the house and when they're expected to leave if they decide not to purchase it. Tips. Now that we covered the most common mistakes, here are a few tips to use in the lease option strategy. Use clear terms in the agreement like a non-refundable option fee, the tenant, and the landlord, and avoid using vague terms like the seller, buyer, or the tenant's nickname. Make sure to write the current standard rent in advance to avoid having to recalculate what it used to be a few years ago when it's time to renew the lease or sell the property. It's always a good idea to get a professional legal consult from a specialized real estate attorney who can ensure you have a solid agreement to protect your rights as a tenant to the original seller and a landlord to your current tenant. Keep the agreement duration as short as possible, preferably a year, to be renewed by the same tenant or ended so you can lease the property again to a new tenant at the upgraded market price. The short-term contract allows you to change some of the terms to accommodate for an increase in property value, for instance. Maintain a tenant-landlord relationship as opposed to a buyer-seller relationship until the tenant officially purchases the property. This entails taking a security deposit and paying your homeowner dues like insurance, taxes, and general repair costs. Make sure the tenant has a fair chance to follow through on the option without charging them an extremely high rent credit or overcharging them for rent. They have to read and understand all the terms of the agreement and give them full disclosure of how you're making your money from the lease option. This chapter discussed lease options, their legal requirements, and how to make money using them. Make sure you conduct in-depth market research before attempting to invest in a lease option. If you keep in mind all the common mistakes and tips outlined in this chapter, you'll be able to benefit from your investment and repeat this strategy with various properties. Conclusion. If you want to venture into the real estate business, there are some things you should know before you do. This book covered various topics related to this sector. The first chapter explained everything you need to become a real estate agent, such as qualifications, licenses, and certificates. Working for an agent at first can go a long way in helping you learn the ropes and master other critical things, like building contracts. With the right knowledge, you can start your own real estate company. This book also highlighted what you should consider when choosing the right market to focus on. Before you get into this business, you must consider all your options and how you will finance everything. Another thing covered in this book is Airbnb. We explained what it is and how you can use this platform for your real estate business. Many successful real estate businesses utilize Airbnb services, earning quite a bit of money. Great reviews can significantly contribute to the success of your business. However, there are common mistakes you should avoid if you want to succeed. This book also explained what you should do if you want to start your business in vacation rentals. It is vital to find ideal rates and buy appropriate vacation homes. It also provided tips and strategies to be successful in your operations. Flipping houses is another form of real estate business discussed in this book. Before you try it, you should know all the problems a particular house may have and how much it will cost you to fix them. Upgrading the house can attract tenants, but you must know the costs involved. This book explains all the things you should know when you flip your home. When you operate a real estate business, you must know how to manage your properties. Property managers have various responsibilities, and these are explained in this book. Additionally, you should also know different types of property management and the tips and tricks to be successful. Wholesaling is another option in the real estate business that was covered in this book. However, like any other option, there are different things you should know, like the licenses required and common mistakes to avoid if you want to succeed. We also explained what investment properties are and the different types of options you can choose from. Similarly, commercial real estate was discussed, and we highlighted different things you can do. When you are in the real estate business, you should know the elements such as REIT and mortgage. The last section focused on discussing lease options to help you make an informed decision. There are different methods you can consider making money in this sector. However, there are also common mistakes you should avoid to really succeed in this business. Copyright 2022. All rights reserved. The content contained within this book may not be reproduced, duplicated, or transmitted without direct written permission from the author or the publisher. Under no circumstances will any blame or legal responsibility be held against the publisher or author for any damages, reparation, or monetary loss due to the information contained within this book, either directly or indirectly. Legal notice. This book is copyright protected. It is only for personal use. You cannot amend, distribute, sell, use, quote, or paraphrase any part or the content within this book without the consent of the author or publisher. Disclaimer notice. Please note the information contained within this document is for educational and entertainment purposes only. All effort has been executed to present accurate, up-to-date, reliable, complete information. No warranties of any kind are declared or implied. Readers acknowledge that the author is not engaging in the rendering of legal, financial, medical, or professional advice. The content within this book has been derived from various sources. Please consult a licensed professional before attempting any techniques outlined in this book. By reading this document, the reader agrees that under no circumstances is the author responsible for any losses, direct or indirect, that are incurred as a result of the use of information contained within this document, including, but not limited to, errors, omissions, or inaccuracies. This has been Real Estate Investing for Beginners and Dummies, written by Giovanni Rigders. Narrated by Connor Sullivan. Copyright 2022 by Giovanni Rigders. Production copyright by Giovanni Rigders.